Welcome to Boring History for Sleep, a gentle journey through time designed to help you drift off into a peaceful slumber. I'm your host, and for the next 11 hours, we'll explore mundane details, obscure facts, and less exciting historical events that are perfect for lulling you to sleep. As we begin, make yourself comfortable. Adjust your pillow, pull up your blanket, and let the soft ambient sounds in the background create a soothing atmosphere. Our stories tonight will meander through various periods and places, but always at a calm, unhurried pace. In this extended edition, we'll cover a wide range of topics, from the evolution of bookkeeping practices in medieval monasteries to the slow standardization of units of measurement. Remember, there's no need to stay awake. Let these gentle tales of history carry you off to dreamland. In the warm embrace of the Nile Valley, a civilization unlike any other began to take root. The story of ancient Egypt is one of enduring fascination, a tale that spans millennia and continues to captivate our imagination to this day. As we embark on this journey through time, allow the gentle flow of history to lull you into a peaceful state of relaxation. Our story begins around 3100 BCE, along the fertile banks of the Nile River. Picture, if you will, a landscape of golden sands and lush greenery, where the life-giving waters of the Nile brought abundance to an otherwise arid region. The annual flooding of the Nile created rich, black soil perfect for agriculture, laying the foundation for one of the world's greatest civilizations. It was during this time that a remarkable event occurred, the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under King Narmer, also known as Menes. This marked the beginning of the dynastic period, an era that would last for nearly 3,000 years. Imagine the scene as Narmer, adorned in the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt, brought together two lands under a single rule. The landscape of early Egypt was a tapestry of natural beauty. Papyrus reeds swayed gently in the breeze along the riverbanks, their rustling a soft lullaby to the rhythmic flow of the Nile. Small settlements of mud brick homes clustered along the shores, their occupants' lives intimately tied to the river's ebb and flow. This natural cycle of the Nile shaped every aspect of Egyptian life, creating a society deeply attuned to the patterns of nature and the cosmic order they called Ma'at. The concept of Ma'at encompassed truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. It was the foundation upon which Egyptian society was built, a guiding principle that brought stability to their world. As you listen, imagine the warm sun on your skin, the gentle breeze carrying the scent of the river, and the distant calls of ibises and herons echoing across the water. Let the peacefulness of this ancient landscape wash over you, soothing your mind and body. During the early dynastic period, which lasted from about 3100 to 2686 BCE, Egyptian culture began to develop its distinctive artistic styles, religious practices, and administrative systems. This was a time of great innovation and discovery, as the people of Egypt learned to harness the power of the Nile and build a society that would stand the test of time. Picture the bustling workshops of early artisans, their skilled hands shaping clay into pottery, weaving linen, and working copper and gold into intricate jewelry. The rhythmic sound of hammers on metal and the whir of potters' wheels filled the air, a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of these ancient craftspeople. It was during this time that the hieroglyphic writing system began to evolve. What started as simple pictograms grew into a sophisticated system of communication that would record Egyptian history, literature, and religious texts for millennia to come. Imagine the concentration on the face of a scribe as he carefully etches these sacred symbols into stone, preserving knowledge for future generations. As the early dynastic period gave way to the Old Kingdom around 2686 BCE, Egypt entered an era of unprecedented growth and development. This period, which lasted until about 2181 BCE, saw the rise of a centralized government and the construction of the first pyramids, including the step pyramid of Djoser designed by the legendary vizier Imhotep. Close your eyes and picture the Great Pyramid of Giza rising from the desert sands, its smooth limestone casing gleaming in the sunlight. The precision and scale of these monuments are a testament to the organizational skills and technological advancements of the ancient Egyptians. Each massive stone block, weighing several tons, was cut and transported with remarkable accuracy, creating structures that have endured for thousands of years. Daily life in ancient Egypt centered around agriculture. Farmers worked the fields using simple wooden plows, their labor synchronized with the annual flooding of the Nile. The sound of their tools cutting through the rich, black soil and the gentle lowing of cattle pulling the plows created a peaceful rhythm that echoed across the land. As Egyptian society grew more complex, so too did their religious beliefs. A pantheon of gods and goddesses emerged, each representing different aspects of the natural world and human experience. Ra, the sun god, was seen as the creator and sustainer of all life. His daily journey across the sky in his solar bark was a central myth that explained the cycle of day and night. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, embodied the concept of resurrection and eternal life. His story of death and rebirth resonated deeply with the Egyptian people, offering hope for a continued existence beyond the grave. Isis, his wife and sister, was revered as the divine mother and protector, her nurturing presence a comfort to all who sought her aid. These religious beliefs were not just abstract concepts, but were woven into the very fabric of Egyptian society. Temples rose along the Nile, their massive stone columns and intricate reliefs a testament to the devotion of the people. Imagine the hushed atmosphere inside these sacred spaces, the air heavy with the scent of incense as priests performed daily rituals to maintain the balance of Ma'at. As we move into the Middle Kingdom, which lasted from about 2055 to 1650 BCE, we see a period of cultural renaissance after a time of instability. Literature flourished during this era, with stories and poems that continue to captivate us to this day. The tale of Sinu, for example, tells the story of an Egyptian official who flees to Syria-Palestine and his eventual return to Egypt. Its vivid descriptions and emotional depth provide a window into the values and aspirations of the ancient Egyptians. Artistic styles also evolved during the Middle Kingdom, becoming more naturalistic and expressive. Sculptors created lifelike statues of pharaohs and common people alike, capturing the essence of their subjects with remarkable skill. Picture the serene face of a seated scribe, his eyes alert and his hands poised to record the words of his master, frozen in limestone for eternity. Trade networks expanded during this time, bringing cedar from Lebanon, gold from Nubia, and exotic goods from the mysterious land of Punt. Imagine the bustle of ancient ports as ships laden with treasures from distant lands docked along the Nile. The air would have been filled with the shouts of sailors, the creaking of wooden planks, and the mingled scents of spices and incense from far-off shores. Technological innovations also marked this period of Egyptian history. The shadoof, a simple yet effective water-lifting device, allowed farmers to irrigate their fields more efficiently. Canals and reservoirs were constructed to extend farmable land beyond the immediate floodplain, increasing agricultural productivity and supporting a growing population. As you listen, let the gentle flow of history wash over you. Feel the weight of time passing, like the slow, steady current of the Nile. Allow your mind to drift along with the story, finding peace in the rhythms of this ancient world. The construction of temples intensified during the Middle Kingdom, with massive structures rising at Karnak and Luxor. These temples were more than just places of worship, they were economic centers and seats of political power. Imagine the awe-inspiring sight of the great hypostyle hall at Karnak, its forest of massive columns stretching towards the sky, each carved to resemble bundled papyrus stalks. Military campaigns during this period extended Egyptian influence into Nubia and the Levant, creating a sphere of cultural and economic exchange that enriched Egyptian society. The mingling of different cultures brought new ideas, technologies, and artistic styles to Egypt, contributing to the dynamism of this era. Administrative systems grew more sophisticated during the Middle Kingdom. Scribes, the literate elite of Egyptian society, recorded tax collections, legal proceedings, and royal decrees on papyrus scrolls. These documents, stored in palace archives, provide us with invaluable insights into the day-to-day functioning of this ancient civilization. As we transition into the New Kingdom, which lasted from about 1550 to 1070 BCE, we enter Egypt's imperial age. This was a time of unprecedented wealth and territorial expansion under pharaohs like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, and Ramesses II. The influence of Egypt extended far beyond its traditional borders, creating an empire that stretched from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. Monumental architecture reached its zenith during the New Kingdom. The temple complex at Karnak grew to enormous proportions, becoming one of the largest religious structures ever built. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari, with its elegant colonnades and ramps, blended harmoniously with the surrounding cliffs. And the rock-cut temples of Abu Simbel, carved into the living rock of a Nubian hillside, stand as a testament to the power and ambition of Ramesses II. Imagine standing before the colossal statues of Ramesses II at Abu Simbel, their serene faces gazing out over the Nile for eternity. The play of light and shadow across their features changes throughout the day, creating an ever-shifting tableau that has captivated visitors for thousands of years. The artistic achievements of the New Kingdom were equally impressive. Delicate paintings adorn the walls of tomb chapels, depicting scenes of daily life and the journey of the deceased into the afterlife. Finely crafted jewelry incorporated gold and semi-precious stones, showcasing the skill of Egyptian goldsmiths. Sculpture reached new heights of realism, with lifelike portraits capturing the individual features of pharaohs and nobles. One of the most remarkable periods of the New Kingdom was the reign of Akhenaten, who introduced a brief but significant religious revolution. Akhenaten promoted the worship of a single god, the Aten, represented as the sun disk. This shift towards monotheism was accompanied by dramatic changes in art and architecture. The city of Amarna, built as the new capital, featured open-air temples and naturalistic art styles that departed from traditional Egyptian conventions. Although Akhenaten's religious reforms were short-lived, with traditional practices restored under his son Tutankhamun, they left an indelible mark on Egyptian history. The art produced during this period, with its fluid lines and intimate depictions of the royal family, continues to fascinate us to this day. As you listen to these tales of ancient wonders, allow your mind to wander through the corridors of time. Picture yourself walking along the cool stone floors of a temple, the scent of incense lingering in the air. Feel the warm desert breeze on your skin as you gaze up at towering obelisks reaching towards the azure sky. Let the peacefulness of these ancient scenes envelop you, gently guiding you towards restful sleep. The New Kingdom was also a time of great literary and scientific achievement. Medical knowledge advanced significantly, as evidenced by the Edwin Smith and Ebers papyri. These documents recorded hundreds of ailments and treatments, showing a surprisingly scientific approach to medicine for their time. Imagine the concentration on the face of an ancient physician as he carefully examines a patient, his knowledge passed down through generations of healers. Literary works flourished during this period as well. Stories like The Tale of the Shipwrecked Sailor and The Story of Sinu demonstrated sophisticated narrative techniques and philosophical reflections. These tales, often recited aloud, would have entertained and educated listeners, their rhythmic prose a soothing backdrop to daily life. As we move into the later years of ancient Egyptian civilization, we enter a period known as the Third Intermediate Period and Late Period, lasting from about 1070 to 332 BCE. During this time, Egypt was increasingly influenced by foreign powers, including Libyans, Nubians, Assyrians, and Persians. Despite this political fragmentation, Egyptian cultural identity remained strong, with temples continuing to serve as centers of religious and economic life. The last native Egyptian dynasty, the 30th, struggled to maintain independence against the Persian Empire. Imagine the tension in the royal court as pharaohs and advisors debated strategies to preserve their autonomy, the weight of 3,000 years of history resting on their shoulders. The arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BCE marked the beginning of a new era for Egypt. The Ptolemaic period saw Greek rulers adopting Egyptian customs and religious practices while introducing Hellenistic influences. This blending of cultures created a unique fusion of Greek and Egyptian elements in art, architecture, and daily life. The last Ptolemaic ruler, Cleopatra VII, fought valiantly to preserve Egyptian independence through alliances with Roman leaders Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Picture the legendary queen standing on the balcony of her palace in Alexandria, gazing out over the Mediterranean Sea, her mind filled with plans and strategies to secure her kingdom's future. Ultimately, Egypt became a Roman province after Cleopatra's defeat and suicide in 30 BCE, ending 3 millennia of native Egyptian rule. Yet even as political power shifted, the legacy of ancient Egypt lived on, continuing to influence art, architecture, and culture throughout the Mediterranean world and beyond. As our journey through ancient Egyptian history comes to a close, let's reflect on the enduring legacy of this remarkable civilization. The architectural marvels they created, from the pyramids to the temples of Luxor, continue to inspire awe and wonder. Their artistic achievements, from delicate jewelry to monumental sculptures, showcase the skill and creativity of ancient craftspeople. The innovations of ancient Egyptian mathematicians, astronomers, and physicians laid foundations for later scientific developments. Their complex writing system, deciphered in the 19th century through the Rosetta Stone, opened a window into their rich literary and historical tradition, allowing us to hear their voices across the millennia. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the quiet stillness of the desert night, the Nile flowing gently under starlight, and the timeless monuments standing as silent witnesses to one of humanity's greatest civilizations. Let the weight of history settle around you like a warm, comforting blanket, guiding you towards peaceful slumber. The story of ancient Egypt is a testament to human ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. From the fertile banks of the Nile rose a civilization that would shape the course of human history, leaving an indelible mark on our collective imagination. As you close your eyes, let the echoes of this ancient world resonate in your mind, carrying you gently into the realm of dreams. As we continue our journey through the annals of ancient Egyptian history, let us delve deeper into the daily lives of the people who inhabited this remarkable civilization. The Nile River, the lifeblood of Egypt, shaped not only the landscape, but also the routines and rituals of everyday existence. Close your eyes and picture the scene, the golden sun rising over the horizon, casting its warm glow across the fertile floodplain. In the villages that dotted the riverbanks, families would begin their day as the first light of dawn painted the sky. The air would be filled with the gentle sounds of awakening, the soft cooing of pigeons, the distant lowing of cattle, and the rustle of palm fronds in the morning breeze. Can you hear these soothing sounds? Let them wash over you, easing your mind into a state of tranquil relaxation. The majority of ancient Egyptians were farmers, their lives intimately tied to the cycles of the Nile. Imagine a farmer and his family making their way to the fields, their bare feet padding softly on the cool earth. The children might help by scaring away birds or small animals that threaten the crops, their playful shouts echoing across the fields. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the day's work would begin in earnest. Picture the rhythmic movement of farmers as they tend to their crops, the steady swish of bronze sickles cutting through stalks of barley or wheat. The air would be filled with the earthy scent of freshly turned soil and the sweet fragrance of ripening fruit in nearby orchards. In the workshops of artisans, the day would be marked by the steady sounds of industry. The tap-tap-tap of a stonemason's chisel, the whoosh of a potter's wheel, and the clinking of a metalworker's hammer all blended into a soothing symphony of craftsmanship. These skilled workers created everything from simple household items to elaborate works of art that would adorn temples and tombs. Meanwhile, in the great cities like Thebes and Memphis, scribes would be hard at work in the cool shade of administrative buildings. Picture them seated cross-legged, reed pens poised over sheets of papyrus, carefully recording tax collections, legal proceedings, and religious texts. The soft scratching of pen on papyrus and the occasional murmur of consultation created a peaceful atmosphere of quiet concentration. As midday approached and the sun reached its zenith, many Egyptians would retreat indoors to escape the heat. The thick mud brick walls of their homes provided a cool respite from the scorching desert sun. Families might gather to share a simple meal of bread, vegetables, and perhaps some fish from the Nile. The gentle burble of conversation and laughter would fill these moments of rest and togetherness. In the royal palaces and temples, life moved at a different pace. Imagine the cool, dim interior of a temple sanctuary, where priests performed daily rituals to maintain the cosmic order. The air would be heavy with the scent of incense, and the soft chanting of prayers would echo off stone walls covered in vivid hieroglyphs and painted scenes of gods and pharaohs. As you listen to these descriptions, allow your mind to wander through these ancient spaces. Feel the cool stone beneath your feet, hear the distant murmur of the Nile, and let the peacefulness of these scenes envelop you, gently guiding you towards a state of deep relaxation. Education was highly valued in ancient Egyptian society, particularly for those destined for careers as scribes or priests. Picture a group of young students gathered around their teacher in the courtyard of a temple school. The teacher might be explaining the intricacies of hieroglyphic writing or reciting passages from sacred texts for the students to memorize. The rhythmic cadence of these recitations would create a soothing backdrop to the day's lessons. As the afternoon wore on, activity in the markets would increase. Imagine the bustling scenes in a city marketplace, vendors calling out their wares, the clinking of copper coins changing hands, and the mingled aromas of spices, fresh bread, and ripe fruit. Despite the activity, there would be an underlying rhythm to the chaos, a steady pulse of commerce that had beat for thousands of years. With the approach of evening, the pace of life would begin to slow. Farmers would return from their fields, artisans would clean and put away their tools, and families would gather for the evening meal. The setting sun would paint the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, its reflection shimmering on the surface of the Nile. As darkness fell, the sounds of the day would give way to the gentle symphony of the night. The chirping of crickets, the distant howl of a jackal, and the soft hooting of an owl would create a peaceful nocturnal chorus. In homes across Egypt, families might gather to tell stories or play simple board games by the flickering light of oil lamps. Throughout the year, the rhythm of daily life would be punctuated by religious festivals and celebrations. One of the most important was the Apit festival, held annually in Thebes. Picture the grand procession as the statue of Amun-Ra was carried from Karnak to Luxor Temple. The air would be filled with the sound of music, the scent of flowers, and the joyous cries of celebrants lining the streets. Another significant event in the Egyptian calendar was the annual flooding of the Nile. As the waters began to rise, farmers would retreat from the floodplain, waiting for the life-giving waters to recede and leave behind a layer of rich, black silt. This cycle of flood, recession, and planting was the heartbeat of Egyptian agriculture, a rhythm that had sustained civilization for millennia. The ancient Egyptians had a complex understanding of the afterlife, and much of their culture was focused on preparing for the journey beyond death. Imagine the painstaking care with which tomb workers would prepare a burial chamber, their brushes delicately applying vibrant pigments to scenes of the deceased's life and their hope for existence in the afterlife. In the workshops of embalmers, the sacred process of mummification would be carried out with reverence and precision. The air would be heavy with the scent of natron salts and fragrant oils used to preserve the body. The soft murmur of prayers and incantations would accompany each step of this elaborate ritual, designed to ensure the deceased's successful journey to the afterlife. As you continue to relax and drift towards sleep, imagine yourself as a traveler in this ancient land. Picture yourself gliding down the Nile in a wooden boat, the gentle lapping of water against the hull creating a soothing rhythm. The towering columns of temples slide by on the shore, their shadows stretching long in the late afternoon sun. Feel the warm breeze on your skin, carrying the scents of the river and the desert beyond. Listen to the distant calls of water birds and the soft splash of fish jumping in the shallows. Let these peaceful sensations wash over you, carrying away the stresses and worries of your day. As night falls in our imaginary journey, picture yourself lying on the deck of the boat, gazing up at a sky ablaze with stars. The ancient Egyptians saw in these celestial patterns the souls of their ancestors and the dwelling places of their gods. The slow turning of the night sky was a cosmic dance, a celestial clock that marked the passage of time and the changing of seasons. In the distance, you might hear the faint strains of music drifting across the water. Perhaps it's a group of revelers celebrating a festival, or a lone musician playing a flute in the quiet of the evening. Let these gentle sounds blend with the lapping of the water and the whisper of the breeze, creating a lullaby to ease you towards sleep. As our journey through ancient Egypt draws to a close, reflect on the enduring legacy of this remarkable civilization. Their monuments still stand, their art still captivates, and their stories still resonate across the millennia. The ancient Egyptians sought to create a world of permanence and order amidst the chaos of existence, a goal that speaks to our own human desires for stability and meaning. Allow the weight of this ancient history to settle around you like a warm, comforting blanket. Let the timeless rhythms of the Nile, the steady pulse of daily life, and the eternal cycles of the sun and stars guide you gently towards peaceful slumber. As you drift off, imagine yourself joining the countless generations who have found rest and renewal in the embrace of the night, under the watchful eyes of the ancient gods of Egypt.
This segment is shorter than required, 39914672 words. Please expand content to match the 002912 duration.
As we conclude our exploration of ancient Mesopotamia, let us gently shift our focus. Our journey through history continues, carrying us to new lands and distant times. Prepare your mind for the next chapter of our soothing historical narrative. In the quiet hills of Tuscany, as the warm Italian sun cast long shadows across the verdant countryside, a child was born who would come to embody the very spirit of the Renaissance. Leonardo da Vinci, a name that would echo through the centuries, entered this world on April 15, 1452, in the small town of Vinci, nestled in the rolling landscape between Florence and Pisa. The air was filled with the sweet scent of olive groves and the distant chiming of church bells as Leonardo took his first breath. He was born out of wedlock to Sir Piero da Vinci, a respected notary, and a young peasant woman named Caterina. The circumstances of his birth, though unconventional for the time, would not hinder the extraordinary path that lay before him. Imagine, if you will, the rustic charm of 15th century Tuscany. Stone houses with terracotta roofs dotted the hillsides, while narrow cobblestone streets wound their way through villages and towns. It was a time of awakening, as the medieval world slowly gave way to new ideas and rediscovered ancient wisdom. Young Leonardo's early years were spent in the company of nature. The Tuscan landscape became his first teacher, instilling in him a deep curiosity about the world around him. He would spend hours observing the flight of birds, the flow of water in streams, and the intricate patterns of leaves and flowers. These early observations would later form the foundation of his scientific inquiries and artistic inspirations. As a child, Leonardo lived with his father, stepmother, and grandparents. His uncle Francesco also played a significant role in his upbringing, nurturing the boy's innate curiosity and love for nature. The family home, a modest farmhouse, was surrounded by vineyards and olive groves, providing a serene backdrop for Leonardo's formative years. Though he received little formal education, Leonardo's insatiable thirst for knowledge was evident from an early age. He would ask endless questions about the world around him, much to the amusement and occasional exasperation of his family. His grandfather, Antonio, often recounted how the young Leonardo would bring him various insects and small creatures he had found, asking detailed questions about their anatomy and behavior. As Leonardo grew, so did his talents. His keen eye and steady hand revealed themselves in early sketches of the Tuscan landscape. These drawings, though simple at first, already showed a remarkable attention to detail and an ability to capture the essence of his subjects. Little did anyone know that these childhood sketches were the first steps on a path that would lead to some of the most iconic artworks in human history. In 1466, at the age of 14, Leonardo's life took a significant turn. His father, recognizing his son's extraordinary artistic talent, arranged for him to become an apprentice in the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. This move from the quiet countryside to the bustling city would open up a world of opportunities for the young Leonardo. Florence in the late 15th century was a city alive with creativity and intellectual fervor. The streets buzzed with the chatter of artists, philosophers, and merchants. The air was thick with the scent of leather from the tanneries and the aroma of spices from distant lands. It was a sensory feast for the young apprentice, whose mind absorbed every sight, sound, and smell with remarkable intensity. Verrocchio's workshop was a hive of activity, filled with the sounds of chisels on marble, brushes on canvas, and the heated discussions of artists and craftsmen. Here, Leonardo began his formal training in the arts. He learned to grind pigments, prepare canvases, and master the techniques of drawing, painting, and sculpture. But Leonardo was no ordinary apprentice. His insatiable curiosity led him to experiment with new techniques and materials, often to the surprise and admiration of his fellow students and even his master. It was during this time that Leonardo's multifaceted genius began to emerge. Not content with merely mastering the artistic techniques of his day, he delved into anatomy, engineering, and natural sciences. He would spend hours dissecting animals and studying human corpses to understand the intricacies of anatomy. This unconventional approach to art, combining scientific observation with artistic expression, would become a hallmark of Leonardo's work. One of the earliest anecdotes about Leonardo's exceptional talent comes from this period. According to Giorgio Vasari, a 16th century artist and historian, Verrocchio had been working on a painting of the baptism of Christ. He assigned Leonardo the task of painting one of the angels. The result was so beautiful and masterful that Verrocchio, realizing he had been surpassed by his pupil, vowed never to paint again. While this story may be more legend than fact, it speaks to the profound impact Leonardo's talent had on those around him. As Leonardo's skills grew, so did his reputation. By his early 20s, he had already caught the attention of Lorenzo de' Medici, the de facto ruler of Florence and a great patron of the arts. The Medici court opened up new worlds of knowledge and connection for Leonardo. Here, he rubbed shoulders with some of the greatest minds of the Renaissance, engaging in discussions on art, philosophy, and science that would further fuel his intellectual growth. In 1472, at the age of 20, Leonardo qualified as a master in the Guild of St. Luke, the Guild of Artists and Doctors of Medicine. This marked his official entry into the world of professional artists. However, Leonardo's relationship with the guild was often strained. His unconventional approaches and his tendency to leave works unfinished due to his perfectionism and wide-ranging interests often put him at odds with the traditional expectations of his profession. Despite these challenges, Leonardo's genius could not be contained. His notebooks from this period reveal a mind constantly at work, filled with sketches of flying machines, hydraulic pumps, and detailed anatomical studies. These were not mere flights of fancy, but serious attempts to understand and manipulate the natural world. Leonardo's approach was unique for his time. He saw no distinction between art and science, viewing both as means to understand and represent the wonders of nature. One of Leonardo's earliest independent works, The Annunciation, painted between 1472 and 1475, already showed signs of his innovative approach. The painting's background, a detailed landscape receding into a misty distance, demonstrated Leonardo's mastery of atmospheric perspective, a technique he would continue to refine throughout his career. The delicate handling of light and shadow, and the naturalistic poses of the figures set this work apart from the more stylized paintings of his contemporaries. As the 1470s progressed, Leonardo's reputation continued to grow. He received commissions for portraits and religious works, each one showcasing his evolving style and technical mastery. However, true to his nature, Leonardo was never content to simply paint. His mind constantly sought new challenges and areas of exploration. In 1476, Leonardo faced a personal crisis when he and 3 other young men were anonymously accused of sodomy, a serious crime in 15th century Florence. Though the charges were eventually dismissed due to lack of evidence, the experience was deeply unsettling for Leonardo. Some historians speculate that this incident may have contributed to his intensely private nature and his reluctance to form close personal relationships later in life. Despite this setback, Leonardo's career continued to flourish. In 1478, he received his first major independent commission, an altarpiece for the chapel of San Bernardo in Palazzo Vecchio. Unfortunately, like many of Leonardo's projects, this work was never completed. His tendency to leave works unfinished would become a recurring pattern throughout his life, much to the frustration of his patrons. As the 1470s drew to a close, Leonardo was poised on the brink of greatness. His unique blend of artistic skill, scientific curiosity, and innovative thinking had set him apart from his contemporaries. The foundations were laid for the remarkable achievements that would follow in the coming decades. The 1480s marked a period of significant growth and change for Leonardo. In 1481, he received a commission from the monks of San Donato a Scapito for the Adoration of the Magi. This large-scale work, though left unfinished, is considered one of Leonardo's most important early paintings. The complex composition, with its swirling figures and detailed background, showcased Leonardo's mastery of perspective and his ability to infuse traditional religious subjects with new life and energy. However, Leonardo's restless spirit and expanding interests were already pulling him in new directions. In 1482, at the age of 30, he left Florence for Milan, seeking new opportunities and challenges. He arrived at the court of Ludovico Sforza with a letter emphasizing his skills as a military engineer rather than as an artist. This move marked a significant shift in Leonardo's career, opening up new avenues for his diverse talents. In Milan, Leonardo found a patron who appreciated not just his artistic skills, but his wide-ranging intellect. Ludovico Sforza, known as Il Moro, the Moor, was an ambitious ruler who sought to make Milan a center of culture and learning. Leonardo's letter to Sforza, listing his abilities in engineering, architecture, and various arts, reads like a Renaissance resume. He offered to build portable bridges, devise instruments of war, and create sculptures and paintings, a testament to the breadth of his skills and interests. The Milan years were incredibly productive for Leonardo. He worked on a wide range of projects, from designing elaborate court festivals to creating a massive equestrian monument for Francesco Sforza, Ludovico's father. This bronze horse, had it been completed, would have been the largest equestrian statue in the world. Although the project was never realized due to war and political upheaval, Leonardo's preparatory drawings and models for the horse are considered masterpieces in their own right. It was during this period that Leonardo began work on one of his most famous paintings, The Last Supper. Commissioned by Ludovico Sforza for the refectory of the convent of Santa Maria del Grazie, this massive mural would become one of the most recognizable and influential works of art in history. Leonardo's innovative approach to the subject, capturing the moment of dramatic tension when Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him, revolutionized the depiction of this biblical scene. Leonardo's work on The Last Supper was characteristic of his meticulous and often slow-working method. He would spend hours observing people in the streets of Milan, sketching faces and expressions that he would later incorporate into the painting. His attention to detail extended to the food on the table, the folds of the disciples' robes, and the play of light and shadow across the scene. Unfortunately, Leonardo's experimental technique of applying oil paint directly to the wall, rather than using traditional fresco methods, led to the rapid deterioration of the work. Despite this, The Last Supper remains one of the most studied and admired paintings in the world. While in Milan, Leonardo's scientific and engineering interests flourished alongside his artistic pursuits. His notebooks from this period are filled with studies on subjects ranging from human anatomy to hydraulics. He dissected human corpses to gain a better understanding of anatomy, made detailed studies of the flight of birds, and designed numerous machines and inventions. Many of these designs, such as his flying machines and armored vehicles, were centuries ahead of their time. Leonardo's time in Milan also saw the creation of one of his most beguiling portraits, Lady with an Ermine. This painting, believed to be a portrait of Cecilia Gallerani, the mistress of Ludovico Sforza, showcases Leonardo's mastery of sfumato, a technique of softening outlines and blending light and shadow to create a smoky, ethereal effect. The painting's psychological depth and the subtle interplay between the young woman and the ermine she holds demonstrate Leonardo's ability to capture not just physical likeness, but the essence of his subjects. As the 15th century drew to a close, political turmoil began to shake the foundations of Leonardo's world in Milan. In 1499, French troops invaded the city, and Ludovico Sforza was overthrown. Leonardo found himself without a patron and in an uncertain political climate. This marked the beginning of a period of wandering for the artist as he sought new patrons and new challenges. Leonardo left Milan, briefly returning to Florence before embarking on a period of travel that would take him to various Italian cities, including Venice and Rome. During this time, he continued to work on a variety of projects, both artistic and scientific. His notebooks from this period reveal an ever-expanding range of interests, from studies of water flow to designs for flying machines. In 1503, Leonardo returned to Florence, where he began work on what would become his most famous painting, the Mona Lisa. This portrait of Lisa Gherardini, the wife of Francesco del Giocondo, would occupy Leonardo for years. The painting's enigmatic smile and Leonardo's masterful use of sfumato have made it one of the most recognized and discussed works of art in history. During this period, Leonardo also worked on another masterpiece, the Battle of Anghiari, a massive mural for the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. Although the work was never completed and is now lost, contemporary accounts and Leonardo's preparatory drawings suggest it was a tour de force of dynamic composition and emotional intensity. As Leonardo entered his later years, his reputation as a universal genius was firmly established. In 1516, he accepted an invitation from King Francis I of France to serve as premier painter and engineer and architect to the king. Leonardo spent his final years in France, living in a manor house near the royal chateau of Ambleuse. In France, Leonardo was free to pursue his diverse interests without the pressure of specific commissions. He continued to work on his notebooks, refining his scientific theories and artistic ideas. The king, who deeply admired Leonardo, visited him often, engaging in long conversations on art, science, and philosophy. Leonardo da Vinci died on May 2, 1519, at the age of 67. Legend has it that he died in the arms of King Francis I, though this is likely an embellishment of history. He was buried in the chapel of Saint Hubert in Chateau d'Amboise. Leonardo's legacy is immeasurable. His paintings, particularly the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, continue to captivate viewers centuries after their creation. His scientific studies and inventions, though largely unknown during his lifetime, have come to be recognized as far ahead of their time. Leonardo's approach to understanding the world through both art and science has inspired generations of thinkers and creators. As we reflect on the life of Leonardo da Vinci, we are reminded of the boundless potential of human creativity and curiosity. His life was a testament to the power of observation, imagination, and relentless inquiry. In the quiet of this night, let the story of Leonardo inspire your own dreams of discovery and creation. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the soft light of a Tuscan sunset, the gentle rustle of notebook pages filled with sketches and ideas, and the timeless smile of the Mona Lisa watching over your slumber. As we continue our journey through the life of Leonardo da Vinci, let us delve deeper into the complexities of his mind and the wonders of his creations. The gentle rustling of leaves in the Tuscan breeze accompanies us as we explore the fascinating world of this Renaissance polymath. During his time in Milan, Leonardo's insatiable curiosity led him to explore the intricacies of human anatomy in unprecedented detail. In the quiet of night, by candlelight, he would meticulously dissect human corpses, making detailed drawings of muscles, bones, and organs. His anatomical studies were far ahead of their time, combining scientific accuracy with artistic beauty. Imagine, if you will, the scratch of Leonardo's quill on parchment as he sketched the inner workings of the human heart. His drawings revealed the organ's 4 chambers and the correct shape of the coronary arteries, insights that wouldn't be confirmed by the medical community for centuries to come. The soft glow of the candle illuminated page after page of intricate diagrams, each one a testament to Leonardo's unparalleled observational skills. Leonardo's fascination with the human form extended beyond anatomy. He was deeply interested in the mechanics of movement, spending countless hours studying and sketching people in motion. His notebooks contain numerous studies of hands performing various tasks, facial expressions conveying a range of emotions, and bodies in different poses. One particularly intriguing aspect of Leonardo's work was his study of the human smile. The enigmatic expression of the Mona Lisa wasn't a chance creation, but the result of years of careful observation and analysis. Leonardo believed that the essence of a person's character could be captured in their smile, and he devoted considerable time to understanding the subtle interplay of facial muscles that create this most human of expressions. As the moon rises over the rolling hills of Tuscany, casting long shadows across the landscape, we turn our attention to Leonardo's contributions to the field of optics. He was fascinated by the nature of light and vision, conducting numerous experiments to understand how the eye perceives the world around it. His studies on the properties of light, reflection, and shadow would influence his artistic technique, particularly his mastery of sfumato. Leonardo's notebooks reveal detailed studies of the camera obscura, a device that projects an image of its surroundings onto a screen. He used this principle to understand perspective and the behavior of light, insights that he applied to his paintings to create a sense of depth and realism that was revolutionary for his time. The gentle lapping of water against the shore of a Tuscan lake brings us to Leonardo's fascination with hydraulics. He spent years studying the flow of water, creating detailed drawings of waves, whirlpools, and flooding rivers. These studies weren't merely academic. Leonardo applied his knowledge to design innovative hydraulic systems, including an early version of a steam engine and various types of pumps and water wheels. In the stillness of the night, we can almost hear the creaking of wooden gears and the soft whirring of clockwork mechanisms. Leonardo's mechanical inventions were as diverse as they were ingenious. From flying machines inspired by the flight of birds to an early version of the automobile, his designs pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible in the 15th and 16th centuries. One of Leonardo's most intriguing inventions was his design for a mechanical knight. This automated humanoid figure, capable of sitting up, moving its arms, and opening and closing its jaw, was centuries ahead of its time. While it's unclear whether Leonardo ever built a working prototype, modern reconstructions based on his drawings have proven that the design was indeed feasible. As dawn breaks over the Arno River, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, we turn our attention to Leonardo's contributions to the field of geology. His keen observations of rock formations and fossils led him to question the prevailing beliefs about the Earth's history. Leonardo correctly deduced that the presence of fossilized sea creatures on mountaintops meant that these areas were once underwater, a revolutionary idea for his time. Leonardo's geological studies extended to his understanding of erosion and the shaping of landscapes over time. His notebooks contain detailed sketches of rock strata and river systems, demonstrating an understanding of geological processes that wouldn't become mainstream for centuries. The soft chirping of birds greeting the new day reminds us of Leonardo's fascination with flight. His studies of bird anatomy and movement led to numerous designs for flying machines, including an ornithopter, a device that flies by flapping its wings. While these designs were far from practical, they demonstrate Leonardo's ability to observe nature and apply its principles to mechanical problems. As the morning mist rises from the valleys, we reflect on Leonardo's contributions to the field of botany. His detailed drawings of plants reveal not just their outward appearance, but also their internal structures and growth patterns. Leonardo was particularly interested in the phenomenon of heliotropism, the way certain plants turn to follow the sun. His observations on plant physiology were remarkably accurate and foreshadowed much later discoveries in the field. The warm rays of the sun now illuminate the vibrant colors of a Tuscan garden, reminding us of Leonardo's mastery of color and light in his paintings. His understanding of how light interacts with different surfaces and materials allowed him to create works of extraordinary depth and realism. The play of light and shadow in paintings like The Virgin of the Rocks demonstrates his unparalleled ability to create a sense of atmosphere and three-dimensionality on a flat canvas. As we continue our journey through Leonardo's world, we find ourselves in his workshop, surrounded by half-finished canvases, intricate mechanical models, and tables strewn with scientific instruments. The air is thick with the scent of oil paints and wood shavings, a testament to the diverse nature of Leonardo's pursuits. In one corner, we see a model of Leonardo's famous flying machine, its bat-like wings poised as if ready for flight. Nearby, anatomical drawings are pinned to the wall, their intricate details revealing the inner workings of the human body with unprecedented accuracy. On a workbench, a collection of lenses and mirrors speaks to Leonardo's experiments with optics and his quest to understand the nature of light and vision. The gentle ticking of a water clock, one of Leonardo's many inventions, marks the passage of time as we explore further. We come across sketches for his visionary civil engineering projects, designs for ideal cities with multi-level streets to separate pedestrians from cart traffic, and innovative systems for sanitation and water distribution. These ideas, far ahead of their time, demonstrate Leonardo's concern for human welfare and his ability to envision solutions to complex urban problems. As the day progresses, we find ourselves in the peaceful surroundings of Leonardo's garden. Here, among the carefully tended plants and flowers, we can imagine the great thinker finding moments of quiet contemplation. It was in settings like this that Leonardo would often observe the subtle details of nature, the spiral pattern of a snail's shell, the branching structure of trees, or the delicate veins of a leaf. The soft rustling of leaves in the breeze brings to mind Leonardo's studies of air currents and wind patterns. His notebooks contain numerous sketches of eddies and vortices, demonstrating his keen understanding of fluid dynamics. These studies weren't just academic exercises. Leonardo applied this knowledge to his designs for flying machines and his paintings, where the movement of air is often subtly depicted in the billowing of fabrics or the wisps of hair. As evening approaches, casting long shadows across the Tuscan landscape, we reflect on Leonardo's contributions to the art of painting. His technique of sfumato, which involves the subtle blending of tones to create a soft, hazy effect, revolutionized the way artists approached light and shadow. This technique is perhaps most famously employed in the Mona Lisa, where the subtle modulations of light across the subject's face create an almost ethereal quality. The fading light reminds us of Leonardo's fascination with the nature of vision and perception. He understood that our eyes don't simply record the world as it is, but that our brains interpret and sometimes alter what we see. This understanding informed his approach to painting, where he sought not just to replicate reality, but to capture the essence of how we perceive the world around us. As night falls and the first stars appear in the sky, we're reminded of Leonardo's astronomical observations. Though less well known than his other scientific pursuits, Leonardo made careful studies of the moon's phases and speculated about the nature of distant celestial bodies. His notebooks contain sketches of the moon's surface, showing an understanding of how sunlight creates patterns of light and shadow on its cratered face. In the quiet of the night, we can almost hear the scratching of Leonardo's quill as he writes in his characteristic mirror script. This habit of writing from right to left, which required a mirror to read, has been the subject of much speculation. Was it a way to keep his ideas secret, or simply a quirk of a left-handed individual? Whatever the reason, it adds an extra layer of intrigue to the already fascinating contents of his notebooks. As we conclude our journey through the world of Leonardo da Vinci, we're left with a profound sense of awe at the breadth and depth of his genius. From the delicate brush strokes of the Mona Lisa to the bold engineering designs of his flying machines, Leonardo's work continues to inspire and amaze us centuries after his death. In the stillness of the night, as you drift towards sleep, let the spirit of Leonardo's curiosity and creativity infuse your dreams. May you wake with a renewed sense of wonder at the world around you, inspired by the life and works of one of history's greatest minds. As your consciousness fades, imagine the soft smile of the Mona Lisa watching over you, a timeless symbol of the mystery and beauty that Leonardo saw in the world.
This segment is shorter than required, 4349, 4760 words. Please expand content to match the 29:45 duration.
As we drift through the annals of history, our journey continues. Let the gentle waves of time carry you deeper into relaxation. Our next historical tale awaits, ready to lull you further into peaceful slumber. As we journey back through time, let us explore the fascinating story of the Roman Republic, a period that laid the foundation for one of the most influential civilizations in human history. Close your eyes and imagine yourself transported to the heart of ancient Italy, where the seeds of a great empire were first sown. The story of the Roman Republic begins in the 6th century BCE, around the year 509. Picture a small city-state nestled among 7 hills along the banks of the Tiber River. This was Rome, a modest settlement that would one day grow to rule much of the known world. The air was filled with the scent of olive groves and the distant sound of bleating sheep from nearby pastures. Legend tells us that Rome was founded by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were raised by a she-wolf. While this tale may be more myth than fact, it speaks to the fierce and determined character that would come to define the Roman people. The early Romans were a hardy folk, farmers and shepherds who valued simplicity, discipline, and devotion to their gods. In those early days, Rome was ruled by kings. The last of these kings was Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, whose cruel and tyrannical reign led to his overthrow. It was in the aftermath of this revolution that the Roman Republic was born. The people of Rome, weary of autocratic rule, established a new system of government based on the principle of shared power. At the heart of this new republic were two consuls, elected annually to serve as the highest officials of the state. These consuls held equal power, a safeguard against any one individual becoming too powerful. Imagine the Forum, the central meeting place of Rome, buzzing with activity as citizens gathered to participate in the election of these leaders. The early years of the Republic were marked by struggle and conflict. Internally, there was tension between the patricians, the wealthy elite who held most of the power, and the plebeians, the common people who sought greater rights and representation. Externally, Rome faced threats from neighboring tribes and city-states that sought to dominate the Italian peninsula. Despite these challenges, the young republic began to flourish. The Romans developed a robust legal system, codified in the 12 tables, which were displayed in the Forum for all to see. This commitment to the rule of law would become a hallmark of Roman civilization, influencing legal systems for centuries to come. As you drift deeper into relaxation, envision the Roman army taking shape during this period. The legion, the basic unit of the Roman military, was a formidable fighting force. Picture rows of soldiers, clad in gleaming armor, marching in perfect formation. The discipline and organization of the Roman military would prove crucial in the Republic's expansion. In the 4th century BCE, Rome began to extend its influence beyond the city walls. The Romans fought a series of wars against the Samnites, a powerful confederation of tribes in central Italy. These conflicts, which lasted for decades, tested the resolve of the young republic. Yet with each victory, Rome grew stronger and more confident. A pivotal moment came in 338 BCE with the conclusion of the Latin War. Rome emerged victorious over its Latin allies, securing its dominance in central Italy. The Romans showed a remarkable ability to absorb conquered peoples, often granting them citizenship or other rights. This policy of inclusion would prove to be one of Rome's greatest strengths. As the 3rd century BCE dawned, Rome found itself drawn into conflict with the powerful city-state of Carthage. The Punic Wars, as they came to be known, would span more than a century and push the Republic to its limits. The most famous of these conflicts was the Second Punic War, which saw the brilliant Carthaginian general Hannibal cross the Alps with his army and elephants to invade Italy. Picture the shock and awe of the Roman people as news spread of Hannibal's daring maneuver. Despite initial setbacks, including a devastating defeat at Cannae in 216 BCE, the Romans refused to surrender. Their resilience in the face of adversity was a testament to the strength of the republican system and the determination of its people. Under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, Rome eventually turned the tide of the war. Imagine the jubilation in the streets of Rome as news arrived of Scipio's victory over Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE. With Carthage defeated, Rome emerged as the dominant power in the western Mediterranean. The century that followed saw Rome's influence expand dramatically. The Republic's legions marched east, conquering Greece and much of the Hellenistic world. By 146 BCE, both Carthage and Corinth had fallen to Roman power. The small city-state on the Tiber had transformed into a vast empire stretching from Spain to Syria. As you continue to relax, consider how this rapid expansion brought both glory and challenges to the Republic. Wealth poured into Rome from conquered territories, fueling a building boom that transformed the city. The Forum became adorned with grand temples and public buildings, a visible symbol of Rome's growing power and prosperity. Yet this period of expansion also brought social and political strains. The influx of slaves from conquered territories disrupted the traditional Roman economy. Small farmers, unable to compete with large slave-worked estates, increasingly abandoned their lands and flocked to the city. The growing disparity between rich and poor created tensions that would eventually threaten the stability of the Republic. In the late 2nd century BCE, two brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, attempted to address these issues through land reform and other measures to help the common people. Their efforts, while popular with the plebeians, met fierce resistance from the conservative elite. The assassination of both brothers marked a turning point, as political violence became increasingly common in Roman public life. As the first century BCE began, the Republic faced a series of crises that would ultimately lead to its downfall. Civil wars erupted as ambitious generals like Marius, Sulla, Pompey, and Julius Caesar vied for power. The traditional checks and balances of the Republican system began to break down under the weight of these powerful personalities. Picture the Roman Forum during this tumultuous time, filled with passionate debates and political intrigue. The air was thick with tension as rival factions competed for influence. The old values of civic duty and shared power that had sustained the Republic for centuries were increasingly overshadowed by personal ambition and the allure of autocratic rule. The final blow to the Republic came with the rise of Julius Caesar. A brilliant general and cunning politician, Caesar ultimately crossed the Rubicon River with his army in 49 BCE, igniting a civil war. Despite opposition from Pompey and the Senate, Caesar emerged victorious and had himself declared dictator for life. Caesar's assassination on the Ides of March in 44 BCE, far from restoring the Republic, plunged Rome into another round of civil wars. From the chaos emerged Caesar's great-nephew and adopted heir Octavian, who would eventually become known as Augustus, the first Roman emperor. As you sink deeper into relaxation, reflect on the legacy of the Roman Republic. Though it ultimately gave way to imperial rule, the ideals and institutions it established would continue to influence Roman society for centuries. The concept of res publica, the public thing or commonwealth, remained a powerful ideal even under the emperors. The Roman Republic's system of checks and balances, its commitment to the rule of law, and its model of citizenship would go on to inspire future generations of political thinkers and revolutionaries. From the Renaissance to the American and French revolutions, the example of the Roman Republic has continued to shape our understanding of democracy and good governance. As our journey through the story of the Roman Republic comes to a close, let the echoes of this ancient civilization lull you towards peaceful slumber. Imagine the gentle lapping of the Tiber River against its banks, the soft rustling of olive leaves in the Italian breeze, and the distant murmur of voices in the Forum fading into the night. The rise and fall of the Roman Republic reminds us of the enduring human quest for justice, liberty, and good governance. As you drift off to sleep, may the wisdom of the ancients and the timeless lessons of history guide you towards sweet dreams and restful repose.
This segment is shorter than required. 1474,760 words. Please expand content to match the 002945 duration.
As we transition to our next historical topic, let the gentle sounds of rustling papers and distant whispers guide you deeper into relaxation. Our journey through time continues, each moment bringing you closer to peaceful slumber. In the quiet corners of history, there are figures whose brilliance illuminates the path of human progress. Tonight, we turn our attention to one such luminary, Marie Curie, whose groundbreaking work in radioactivity forever changed our understanding of the physical world. As we explore her remarkable life, let the gentle rhythm of her story lull you into a peaceful state of relaxation. Marie Skłodowska-Curie was born on November 7, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, then part of the Russian Empire. The soft glow of gas lamps would have illuminated the modest apartment where she took her first breath, the fifth child of schoolteachers Bronislawa and W. Ladislaw Skłodowski. The cobblestone streets outside echoed with the clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages, a sound that would become familiar to young Maria, as she was known in her early years. The Skłodowski household was a nurturing environment for intellectual curiosity. Imagine the gentle rustle of papers and the soft scratch of pencils as Marie and her siblings pored over their studies. The family's commitment to education was a beacon of hope in a time when Poland struggled under Russian occupation. The air was thick with tension, but also with the promise of knowledge as a path to a better future. Marie's early years were marked by both tragedy and resilience. When she was only 10 years old, her eldest sister Zofia succumbed to typhus. 2 years later, her mother passed away from tuberculosis. These losses cast long shadows over the Skłodowski home, but they also forged a deep determination in young Marie. Picture her, a solemn child with bright, inquisitive eyes, finding solace in her studies, the pages of her books offering escape and enlightenment. Despite her academic prowess, Marie faced significant obstacles in pursuing higher education. The University of Warsaw did not admit women, a reflection of the gender inequalities of the time. Undeterred, Marie and her sister Bronislawa became involved with the Flying University, clandestine institution that provided underground education to Polish students, particularly women. Imagine the hushed excitement of these secret gatherings, where knowledge was shared in whispers and ideas bloomed in the shadows. The soft glow of candles would have illuminated faces eager for learning, their breath creating small clouds in the often cold rooms where they met. It was in this atmosphere of quiet rebellion and thirst for knowledge that Marie's passion for science began to take root. At the age of 24, Marie finally achieved her dream of studying at a university. She moved to Paris, enrolling at the Sorbonne in 1891. The streets of Paris were a world away from Warsaw, filled with the chatter of students, the clatter of carriages on cobblestones, and the rich aroma of freshly baked bread from corner bakeries. Marie threw herself into her studies with fervor, often forgetting to eat as she lost herself in the world of physics and mathematics. Picture Marie in her tiny attic room, hunched over her books late into the night. The soft glow of a lamp casting long shadows as she worked, her breath creating small puffs in the cold air. Despite the hardships of poverty and the challenges of studying in a foreign language, Marie excelled, earning her degree in physics in 1893, followed by a degree in mathematics the next year. It was during this time that Marie met Pierre Curie, a physicist who would become not only her husband, but also her scientific partner. Their courtship was unconventional, bonded by a shared passion for science rather than traditional romantic gestures. Imagine them walking along the Seine, deep in discussion about magnetic properties and crystallography, the gentle lapping of the river providing a soothing backdrop to their intellectual exchange. Marie and Pierre married in 1895, beginning a partnership that would change the course of scientific history. Their early married life was simple, filled with long hours in the laboratory and quiet evenings at home. Picture their small apartment, sparsely furnished but rich with the energy of two brilliant minds. The soft clink of laboratory glassware might have mingled with the rustle of papers as they continued their work long into the night. In 1896, Henry Becquerel discovered that uranium salts emitted rays that resembled X-rays in their penetrating power. This phenomenon intrigued Marie, and she decided to make it the subject of her doctoral research. Little did she know that this decision would lead to discoveries that would revolutionize our understanding of matter and energy. Marie began her systematic studies of uranium rays, using a piece of equipment invented by Pierre and his brother Jacques, an electrometer. The gentle hum of this sensitive instrument became a constant companion as Marie meticulously measured the faint electrical currents in the air around uranium compounds. Her careful observations led her to a groundbreaking hypothesis. The rays were a property of the uranium atom itself. As you listen to the story of Marie's tireless work, let the rhythm of scientific inquiry lull you into a state of calm reflection. Imagine the quiet concentration, the patient observation, the gentle tick of a clock marking the hours as Marie pursued her groundbreaking research. Allow the steady pace of discovery to guide you towards a peaceful state of mind. Marie's work soon led her to an even more exciting discovery. She found that the mineral pitchblende was far more radioactive than could be explained by its uranium content alone. This observation suggested the presence of a new, highly radioactive element. Pierre, excited by the implications of Marie's work, set aside his own research to join her in the quest to isolate this mysterious substance. The Curie's laboratory was a far cry from the sterile, high-tech environments we associate with scientific research today. Picture a converted shed, drafty and damp, filled with the earthy smell of pitchblende ore. The soft clink of laboratory equipment and the occasional hiss of a Bunsen burner provided a gentle soundtrack to their painstaking work. Despite the challenging conditions, the air was charged with the excitement of impending discovery. In 1898, the Curies announced the discovery of a new element, which they named polonium after Marie's native Poland. Later that same year, they reported the discovery of another element, radium. These announcements sent ripples through the scientific community, opening up an entirely new field of study, radioactivity, a term coined by Marie herself. The process of isolating these new elements was arduous and time-consuming. Imagine the Curies working long into the night, their faces illuminated by the faint blue glow of radium as they processed ton after ton of pitchblende ore. The gentle scrape of stirring rods and beakers and the soft bubbling of boiling solutions created a soothing rhythm, a lullaby of scientific dedication. As you drift deeper into relaxation, picture the gradual accumulation of knowledge, like grains of sand slowly filling an hourglass. Each experiment, each observation, each careful measurement contributed to a growing understanding of the nature of matter and energy. Let the steady pace of scientific progress guide you towards a state of peaceful contemplation. The Curie's work did not go unrecognized. In 1903, Marie and Pierre, along with Henry Becquerel, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on radioactivity. Marie became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, a groundbreaking achievement in a male-dominated field. Imagine the quiet pride mixed with humility as Marie accepted this honor, her voice soft but firm as she spoke of the importance of scientific inquiry. Tragically, Pierre's life was cut short in 1906 when he was struck by a horse-drawn cart on a rainy Paris street. His sudden death was a devastating blow to Marie, both personally and professionally. Yet in the face of this loss, Marie's dedication to their shared work only intensified. Picture her in the days following Pierre's death, finding solace in the familiar routines of the laboratory, the gentle bubbling of solutions, and the scratch of pencil on paper providing a comforting constancy in a world turned upside down. Marie was appointed to Pierre's position at the Sorbonne, becoming the first woman to teach there. Imagine her first lecture, the amphitheater hushed in anticipation. Her voice, though soft, carried clearly through the room, sharing not just knowledge but a passion for scientific discovery that inspired a new generation of researchers. In 1911, Marie was awarded a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for her discovery of radium and polonium and her work in isolating radium. She became the first person to win Nobel Prizes in 2 scientific fields, an achievement that remains unmatched to this day. As you contemplate this remarkable accomplishment, let a sense of quiet awe wash over you, like gentle waves lapping at the shore of consciousness. Throughout her career, Marie remained dedicated to the practical applications of her research. During World War I, she developed mobile X-ray units to assist battlefield surgeons. Picture Marie, her hair now streaked with gray, bumping along rough roads in a vehicle equipped with X-ray apparatus, bringing the benefits of her scientific work directly to those in need. The steady hum of the equipment and the gentle sway of the vehicle create a soothing rhythm as you drift deeper into relaxation. Marie's later years were devoted to the study of the medical applications of radioactivity. She founded the Radium Institute in Paris, which became a major center for chemical and radioactive research. Imagine the quiet buzz of activity in the Institute's laboratories, the soft murmur of researchers discussing their findings, the gentle clink of laboratory equipment. This atmosphere of focused inquiry and collaboration became Marie's legacy, a testament to her lifelong dedication to science. Despite her groundbreaking work, Marie remained humble and focused on the pursuit of knowledge rather than personal gain. She chose not to patent the radium isolation process, believing that it should be freely available for scientific research. This decision, made in the quiet of her conscience, speaks volumes about her character and her commitment to the advancement of science for the benefit of all humanity. As we near the end of our exploration of Marie Curie's remarkable life, let the steady rhythm of scientific progress and personal dedication wash over you like gentle waves. Feel the tension in your body slowly dissipate, replaced by a sense of calm reflection on the quiet persistence that can change the world. Marie Curie passed away on July 4, 1934, at the age of 66 from aplastic anemia, likely caused by her long-term exposure to radiation. Her death marked the end of an era in scientific research, but her legacy continues to inspire generations of scientists, particularly women in STEM fields. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the soft glow of radium, a metaphor for the enduring light of knowledge that Marie Curie brought into the world. In the quiet moments before sleep overtakes you, reflect on the life of Marie Curie, her dedication, her resilience, her groundbreaking discoveries. Let the steady rhythm of scientific inquiry and human perseverance guide you towards peaceful slumber. As your consciousness gently fades, carry with you the quiet inspiration of a life devoted to the pursuit of knowledge and the betterment of humanity.
This segment is shorter than required, 1928-4760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:0:29:45 duration.
As we transition to our next historical topic, let the gentle sound of rustling pages carry you deeper into relaxation. Our journey through time continues, each moment bringing you closer to peaceful slumber. Prepare for another soothing exploration of the past. As we journey through the annals of history, we now turn our attention to the magnificent Byzantine Empire, a realm that stood as a beacon of civilization for over 1,000 years. Let the gentle whispers of time carry you back to the shores of the Bosphorus, where the glittering domes of Constantinople rise against the setting sun. The story of the Byzantine Empire begins in the twilight of the Roman world. As the Western Roman Empire crumbled under the weight of barbarian invasions and internal strife, its eastern counterpart endured, transforming into what we now call the Byzantine Empire. This transition was not sudden but a gradual metamorphosis, like the slow changing of seasons. In the year 330 CE, Emperor Constantine the Great made a decision that would shape the course of history. He moved the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to the ancient Greek city of Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople. Picture, if you will, the bustling construction sites, the sound of chisels on stone, and the excited murmur of people as a new imperial city rose from the foundations of the old. Constantinople straddled two continents, Europe and Asia. Much like the empire, it would come to represent a bridge between East and West. The city was strategically positioned along vital trade routes, its natural harbor teeming with ships from distant lands. The aroma of exotic spices mingled with the salt air, while the chatter of merchants in dozens of languages filled the marketplaces. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the early Byzantine world. The empire inherited the rich traditions of Rome, but it was also deeply influenced by Greek culture and the Christian faith. Latin gradually gave way to Greek as the language of administration and scholarship. The empire's Christian character became more pronounced, with magnificent churches and monasteries dotting the landscape. One of the most breathtaking of these was the Hagia Sophia, commissioned by Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century. Close your eyes and picture its massive dome seeming to float above the ground, supported by hidden pendentives. The interior glowed with golden mosaics, their tiny tesserae catching the light of countless candles and oil lamps. Justinian I, who ruled from 527 to 565 CE, marked a high point in Byzantine history. Under his reign, the empire reclaimed much of the lost western territories, briefly reuniting the Mediterranean world under Byzantine rule. Justinian's legal reforms, culminating in the Corpus Juris Civilis, would influence legal systems for centuries to come. But the Byzantine Empire faced constant challenges. To the east, the Persian Sassanid Empire posed a perennial threat. Imagine the tension along the frontier, where Byzantine and Persian forces faced each other across fortified borders. The clash of empires was like the meeting of two great storm fronts, with periods of uneasy peace punctuated by fierce conflicts. In the 7th century, a new power emerged from the Arabian desert. The rise of Islam and the rapid expansion of the Arab caliphates forever changed the geopolitical landscape. The Byzantines lost vast territories in the Levant, Egypt, and North Africa. Yet the empire endured, adapting to its new, reduced circumstances with remarkable resilience. Picture Constantinople during the Arab sieges of the 7th and 8th centuries. The massive Theodosian walls stood firm, a testament to Byzantine engineering. The defenders used an awe-inspiring weapon called Greek fire, a mysterious incendiary substance that could burn even on water. The sight of Byzantine ships spewing liquid flame must have been both terrifying and mesmerizing to the besieging forces. As you relax deeper, let your mind wander through the corridors of the Great Palace in Constantinople. Here, elaborate ceremonies and court rituals unfolded daily, a complex dance of power and tradition. The emperor, believed to be God's representative on earth, was the center of this intricate system. Imperial purple silk, woven with gold thread, shimmered in the flickering light of countless candles. The Byzantine Empire was not just a political entity, it was a cultural powerhouse. Its scholars preserved much of the knowledge of the ancient world, copying and studying texts that might otherwise have been lost to time. In scriptorium across the empire, monks painstakingly transcribed works of philosophy, science, and literature. The soft scratching of quills on parchment and the faint aroma of ink filled these quiet spaces. Byzantine art, with its distinctive style, adorned churches and palaces throughout the empire and beyond. Mosaics depicted solemn-faced saints against golden backgrounds, their eyes seeming to follow viewers across vast cathedral spaces. Delicate ivory carvings and luminous enamels showcased the skill of Byzantine craftsmen. The empire's influence extended far beyond its borders. To the north, the Slavic peoples of Eastern Europe were drawn into the Byzantine cultural orbit. The missionaries Cyril and Methodius created the Glagolitic alphabet, the precursor to the Cyrillic script still used in many Slavic languages today. Imagine the wonder of those hearing the liturgy in their own tongue for the first time, the familiar sounds carrying new, profound meanings. As the centuries passed, the Byzantine Empire faced new challenges. The arrival of the Seljuk Turks in the 11th century marked a turning point. At the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, the Byzantines suffered a crushing defeat, losing much of Anatolia, the heartland of the empire. This loss prompted the emperor to appeal to the west for help, inadvertently triggering the Crusades. The relationship between Byzantium and the Crusaders was complex and often fraught. While initially welcomed as allies, the cultural and religious differences led to misunderstandings and conflicts. The nadir of this relationship came in 1204 with the Fourth Crusade. Instead of heading to the Holy Land, the Crusaders sacked Constantinople itself. Picture the horror and disbelief of the city's inhabitants as the supposedly Christian army pillaged the greatest Christian city in the world. Priceless works of art were destroyed or carried off to Western Europe. The great library of Constantinople, with its vast collection of ancient texts, was consumed by fire. The loss to human knowledge was incalculable. The Byzantine Empire never fully recovered from this blow. When the Byzantines reclaimed Constantinople in 1261, they found a much diminished city. The empire was now surrounded by enemies, its territories reduced to a fraction of their former extent. Yet, even in this twilight period, Byzantine culture continued to exert a powerful influence. In the 14th and 15th centuries, as the empire's political power waned, its cultural impact paradoxically grew. Byzantine scholars, fleeing the encroaching Ottoman Turks, brought ancient Greek texts to Italy, helping to spark the Renaissance. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 is often seen as the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the modern era. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the final days of the Byzantine Empire. The last emperor, Constantine Palaeologus, stood on the walls of Constantinople, defending his city against overwhelming odds. The thunder of Ottoman cannons and the shouts of soldiers filled the air. Despite the heroic resistance, the city fell on May 29, 1453, bringing an end to over 1,000 years of Byzantine history. Yet the legacy of the Byzantine Empire lives on. Its influence can be seen in the domed churches of Eastern Europe, in the legal systems of many countries, and in the preserved texts of ancient Greek and Roman authors. The Byzantine Empire served as a crucial bridge between the ancient and modern worlds, preserving and transmitting knowledge that might otherwise have been lost. As you fall deeper into relaxation, let the echoes of Byzantine history wash over you. From the glittering mosaics of Ravenna to the soaring dome of Hagia Sophia, from the intricate diplomacy of the imperial court to the monastic scribes preserving ancient wisdom, the Byzantine Empire left an indelible mark on world history. In your mind's eye, see the sun setting over the Bosphorus one last time, its golden light reflecting off the domes and spires of Constantinople. The long saga of the Byzantine Empire comes to a close, but its stories, its art, and its legacy continue to inspire and intrigue us to this day. As you drift off to sleep, may the whispers of Byzantine history guide you to peaceful dreams, filled with the wonder and majesty of a civilization that spanned a millennium.
This segment is shorter than required. 14384760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
As we conclude our exploration of ancient Mesopotamia, we prepare to journey forward in time. Our next historical period awaits, promising more soothing tales of the past. Let the gentle flow of history continue to guide you towards peaceful slumber. In the quiet English countryside of Woolsthorpe by Calsterworth, on a cold winter's day in 1642, a child was born who would one day revolutionize our understanding of the universe. This child was Isaac Newton, a frail and premature infant who, against all odds, would grow to become one of the most influential scientists in history. As we settle into this story, let the gentle whisper of time carry you back to 17th century England, where the seeds of the scientific revolution were just beginning to take root. Isaac entered the world on Christmas Day, though due to the Julian calendar still in use in England at the time, the date was recorded as December 25, 1642. The world he was born into was one of turmoil and change. The English Civil War was raging, and the old order was being challenged in ways both political and intellectual. Little did anyone know that this tiny, sickly child would one day challenge the very foundations of scientific thought. Newton's father, also named Isaac, was a prosperous but illiterate yeoman farmer who had died 3 months before his son's birth. His mother, Hannah Eiskopf, was left to care for the newborn alone. The stone manor house W just sleep. Imagine, if you will, the soft glow of candlelight flickering across the walls of the modest farmhouse. The air is crisp with the chill of winter, and the gentle creaking of wooden beams settles into a soothing rhythm. Outside, the bare branches of apple trees sway in the wind, their silhouettes etched against a star-filled sky. It was in this quiet, rural setting that young Isaac's curious mind would begin to take shape. As an infant, Isaac was so small that, as his mother later recalled, he could have fit into a quart mug. His survival was uncertain, and for a time it seemed as though the world might never know the brilliance that lay dormant within him. But survive he did, growing stronger with each passing day, nurtured by the clean country air and his mother's attentive care. In these early years, Isaac's world was confined to the boundaries of his family's farm. The rhythms of rural life, the changing seasons, the cycles of planting and harvest formed the backdrop of his childhood. While other children might have been content with simple games and chores, young Isaac's mind was already reaching beyond the horizon, questioning the how and why of everything he observed. When Isaac was 3 years old, his mother remarried to Reverend Barnabas Smith, the rector of a nearby village. This union brought significant changes to Isaac's life. His stepfather, nearly 3 times Hannah's age, insisted that the boy be left in the care of his maternal grandmother, Marjorie Icecoff. And so, at this tender age, Isaac found himself separated from his mother, an event that would leave a lasting impact on his emotional development. For the next 9 years, Isaac lived with his grandmother in the family manor house. The separation from his mother was difficult for the young boy, and it is believed that this early experience of abandonment contributed to the complex and often solitary nature that would characterize Newton throughout his life. Yet, it was perhaps this very solitude that allowed his extraordinary mind the freedom to wander and wonder. During these years with his grandmother, Isaac's innate curiosity began to manifest itself in tangible ways. He was a quiet child, more interested in books and his own thoughts than in the company of others. The sprawling farmlands and orchards became his playground and laboratory. He would spend hours observing the natural world around him, from the flight patterns of birds to the fall of apples from the trees that dotted the property. It was here, amidst the rolling hills of Lincolnshire, that Isaac first began to ponder the mysteries of the universe. The sky above Woolsthorpe Manor was often clear, offering a brilliant display of stars at night. Young Isaac would gaze up at this celestial tapestry, his mind filled with questions about the nature of these distant lights and the forces that governed their movements. As you let your own mind drift with these images, feel the gentle weight of history settling around you. The soft rustling of leaves in the orchard, the distant lowing of cattle, and the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock blend into a soothing lullaby of the past. Let the peacefulness of this rural English setting envelop you, just as it once cradled the developing genius of Isaac Newton. At the age of 12, Isaac's life changed once again. His stepfather passed away, and his mother returned to Woolsthorpe with 3 children from her second marriage. Isaac, who had grown accustomed to his solitary life with his grandmother, now found himself part of a larger family unit. This adjustment was not easy for the introspective boy, and he often retreated into his studies and experiments as a means of coping with the change. It was around this time that Isaac was sent to the King's School in Grantham, about 7 miles from his home. This marked the beginning of his formal education, and it was here that his exceptional intellect began to shine. The school, housed in a medieval building with thick stone walls and narrow windows, provided a stark contrast to the open fields of Woolsthorpe. Yet within these confines, Isaac's mind continued to expand. At King's School, Isaac quickly distinguished himself as a student of remarkable ability. He had a particular aptitude for mathematics and Latin, subjects that would later prove crucial in his scientific endeavors. His teachers noted his intense focus and his tendency to lose himself in thought, often oblivious to the world around him. While this made him something of an outsider among his peers, it also allowed him to delve deeply into complex problems that others might have found overwhelming. Imagine young Isaac sitting at a wooden desk worn smooth by generations of students before him. The scratching of quills on parchment fills the air, punctuated by the occasional cough or shuffling of feet. But Isaac is lost in his own world, his mind racing with ideas and questions that far exceed the scope of his lessons. In these moments, the seeds of his future discoveries were being sown. Outside of his formal studies, Isaac's curiosity led him to explore a wide range of interests. He was fascinated by mechanical devices and spent much of his free time building models and experimenting with different designs. He constructed water clocks, sundials, and even a small windmill that could grind grain. These early forays into practical mechanics would later inform his groundbreaking work in optics and his designs for reflecting telescopes. As we pause to consider the young Newton, let the gentle flow of time wash over you. Feel the weight of centuries melting away, leaving only the timeless pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The quiet concentration of the studious boy, the soft scratch of chalk on slate, the muffled sounds of life beyond the schoolroom walls, all these create a cocoon of calm, inviting you to sink deeper into relaxation. At the age of 17, Isaac's formal education at King's School came to an end. His mother, hoping that he would take over the management of the family estate, called him back to Woolsthorpe. For a brief period, Isaac attempted to fulfill the role of a gentleman farmer, but it quickly became apparent that his interests and talents lay elsewhere. He found the practical aspects of farm management tedious and was often distracted by his books and experiments. It was during this time that one of Isaac's uncles, William Icecoff, recognized the young man's exceptional abilities. A graduate of Trinity College, Cambridge, William convinced Isaac's mother that her son's talents would be wasted on the farm. With some reluctance, Hannah agreed to allow Isaac to return to school to prepare for university. And so in 1661, at the age of 18, Isaac Newton entered Trinity College, Cambridge. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one that would set him on the path to becoming one of the most influential scientists in history. As he arrived at the college, the medieval spires and ancient courtyards must have seemed a world away from the rural simplicity of Woolsthorpe. Cambridge in the 17th century was a center of learning steeped in tradition. The curriculum was still largely based on the teachings of Aristotle and other ancient philosophers, with little emphasis on the new scientific methods that were beginning to emerge across Europe. Yet it was here, amidst this somewhat outdated system, that Newton would lay the groundwork for a revolution in scientific thought. As an undergraduate, Newton immersed himself in the standard curriculum of Latin, Greek, and mathematics. However, he also began to explore more contemporary works on his own. He read extensively in the fields of mathematics, physics, and astronomy, studying the works of Galileo, Kepler, and Descartes. These modern thinkers, who were challenging the old Aristotelian worldview, had a profound impact on Newton's developing ideas. Picture, if you will, the young Newton in his college room. The walls are lined with books, many of them far beyond the scope of his official studies. A candle flickers on the desk, casting dancing shadows across pages filled with complex equations and diagrams. Outside, the soft chiming of college bells marks the passing hours, but Newton is oblivious to time, lost in the depths of his calculations and theories. It was during his time at Cambridge that Newton began to develop his revolutionary ideas in mathematics, optics, and mechanics. He laid the foundations for calculus, a mathematical system that would prove essential in describing and analyzing the physical world. His work on optics led him to new understandings about the nature of light and color. And his thoughts on motion and gravity were beginning to take shape, though it would be years before he fully developed his theory of universal gravitation. As we contemplate Newton's years at Cambridge, let the atmosphere of quiet scholarly pursuit envelop you. The soft rustle of turning pages, the gentle scratch of a quill on paper, the muted conversations drifting from distant college rooms, all blend into a soothing backdrop for our journey through time. Allow your mind to drift, much as Newton's did, through the vast realms of thought and imagination. In 1665, just as Newton was completing his undergraduate studies, a significant event occurred that would have a profound impact on his life and work. The Great Plague, which had been ravaging London, began to spread to other parts of England. As a precautionary measure, Cambridge University closed its doors, sending students and faculty back to their homes. For Newton, this meant a return to Woolsthorpe Manor. What might have been a setback for some proved to be an extraordinary opportunity for the young scientist. Away from the distractions and demands of university life, Newton found himself with the time and solitude to focus intensely on his studies and experiments. The period from 1665 to 1667, which Newton would later refer to as his Annus Mirabilis, or Year of Wonders, was one of incredible intellectual productivity. It was during this time of enforced isolation that many of Newton's most important ideas began to take shape. In the quiet of the Lincolnshire countryside, surrounded by the same apple orchards of his childhood, Newton's mind soared to new heights of understanding. He later wrote of this period, "For in those days I was in the prime of my age for invention, and minded mathematics and philosophy more than at any time since." Imagine the scene at Woolsthorpe Manor during these pivotal years. The world outside may have been gripped by fear and uncertainty, but within the walls of his family home, Newton was creating a new vision of the universe. The soft rustling of leaves in the orchard, the gentle creaking of the house settling in the night, the scratching of his quill as he filled notebook after notebook with calculations and observations, all these sounds formed the backdrop to one of the most remarkable periods of scientific discovery in history. It was during this time that Newton conducted his famous experiments with prisms, splitting white light into its component colors. This work would later form the basis of his groundbreaking theories on optics. He also made significant advances in mathematics, developing the binomial theorem and laying the foundations for what would become calculus. But perhaps the most famous story associated with Newton's time at Woolsthorpe is that of the falling apple. While the popular image of an apple striking Newton on the head is likely apocryphal, Newton himself spoke of how watching an apple fall from a tree led him to contemplate the nature of gravity. This simple observation set him on the path to developing his theory of universal gravitation, a concept that would revolutionize our understanding of the physical world. As you listen to the story of Newton's Year of Wonders, let the peacefulness of that time wash over you. Feel the gentle weight of history, the quiet intensity of deep thought, the slow unfolding of ideas that would change the world. Allow your own thoughts to drift, much as Newton's did, through the vast realms of possibility. When Cambridge reopened its doors in 1667, Newton returned to the university, now as a Fellow of Trinity College. His reputation as a brilliant mathematician and natural philosopher was growing, and in 1669, at the age of just 26, he was appointed as the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics, one of the most prestigious academic positions in England. In this role, Newton continued to develop and refine his ideas. He lectured on optics and mathematics, though often to nearly empty rooms. His work was so advanced that few students could follow it, and Newton himself was not known for his teaching skills. He preferred solitary study and experimentation to the social aspects of academic life. Throughout the 1670s and 1680s, Newton's work continued to evolve. He constructed the first reflecting telescope, a design that would revolutionize astronomy. He engaged in heated debates with other scientists, particularly over the nature of light and color. And all the while, he was refining his ideas about motion and gravity, building on the work he had begun during his years at Woolsthorpe. As we near the end of this part of our journey through Newton's life, let the gentle flow of time carry you deeper into relaxation. The quiet halls of Cambridge, the soft glow of candlelight illuminating pages of complex equations, the distant chiming of college bells, all these create a soothing backdrop for our exploration of one of history's greatest minds. Allow yourself to drift, suspended in the peaceful currents of the past, as we prepare to continue our story in the next segment. As we continue our journey through the life of Isaac Newton, let us return to the hallowed halls of Cambridge University. The year is now 1684, and Newton, at the age of 42, has established himself as a preeminent figure in the world of mathematics and natural philosophy. The quiet, introspective boy from Woolsthorpe has become a man of great intellectual renown, though his reclusive nature and intense focus on his work have kept him somewhat isolated from his peers. In August of that year, a pivotal moment occurred that would set in motion the creation of Newton's most famous work. Edmund Halley, a respected astronomer and fellow of the Royal Society, paid a visit to Newton in Cambridge. Halley was grappling with a problem that had puzzled astronomers for years, the nature of planetary orbits. He posed a question to Newton: what type of curve would a planet describe in its orbit around the Sun, assuming an inverse square law of attraction? To Halley's astonishment, Newton immediately replied that it would be an ellipse. When asked how he knew this, Newton calmly stated that he had calculated it years ago. However, he couldn't immediately locate the papers containing his calculations. This encounter sparked a renewed interest in Newton to revisit and expand upon his earlier work on motion and gravitation. Imagine, if you will, the scene of this momentous meeting. The two men, Newton and Halley, seated in Newton's study at Trinity College. Sunlight filters through leaded glass windows, illuminating motes of dust that dance in the air. The room is cluttered with books, papers, and scientific instruments. As they speak, their voices are hushed, as if in reverence to the weight of the ideas being discussed. The gentle ticking of a clock marks the passage of time, each second bringing the world closer to a revolutionary understanding of the universe. Encouraged by Halley's interest and support, Newton embarked on an intense period of work. Over the next 18 months, he would expand his earlier ideas into a comprehensive treatise on motion and gravitation. This work would become his magnum opus, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or simply Principia, as it is commonly known. The writing of Principia was a Herculean task. Newton worked with almost superhuman focus and intensity, often forgetting to eat or sleep. He would later recall this period as one of complete absorption in his work, saying, "I keep the subject constantly before me and wait till the first dawnings open slowly, by little and little, into a full and clear light." As you contemplate this image of Newton at work, allow yourself to sink deeper into relaxation. Feel the quiet intensity of deep concentration, the soft scratching of quill on paper, the occasional rustle of pages being turned. Let the peaceful atmosphere of scholarly pursuit envelop you, carrying you gently into a state of calm tranquility. In the Principia, Newton laid out his 3 laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation. These fundamental principles would form the foundation of classical mechanics and would remain unchallenged for over 2 centuries. The work was revolutionary in its scope and precision, providing a mathematical framework for understanding the motion of objects both on Earth and in the heavens. Newton's first law of motion stated that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion, unless acted upon by an external force. His second law related force to acceleration in mass, expressed in the famous equation F equals ma. The third law stated that for every action T just sleep. But perhaps the most profound aspect of the Principia was Newton's law of universal gravitation. This law proposed that every particle in the universe attracts every other particle with a force proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. With this single principle, Newton was able to explain everything from the fall of an apple to the orbits of the planets. As we ponder these revolutionary ideas, let the gentle weight of their significance settle around you like a comfortable blanket. Feel the vastness of the universe Newton described, yet also the comforting orderliness of its mathematical underpinnings. Allow your mind to drift in this sea of cosmic harmony, each breath drawing you deeper into a state of peaceful relaxation. The publication of Principia in 1687 marked a watershed moment in the history of science. Its impact was immediate and profound. The work was hailed as a masterpiece, and Newton's reputation as one of the greatest minds of his age was firmly established. The Principia not only provided answers to long-standing questions about the nature of motion and gravitation, but it also laid out a new methodology for scientific inquiry, emphasizing the importance of mathematical analysis and empirical observation. In the years following the publication of Principia, Newton's life took on a new dimension. His fame spread beyond the confines of Cambridge, and he began to take on more public roles. In 1689, he was elected as a member of Parliament for Cambridge University, though he spoke very little during his time in this position. In 1696, Newton left Cambridge to take up the position of Warden of the Royal Mint in London. This marked a significant shift in his life, from the quiet, scholarly existence he had known to a more public and administrative role. At the Mint, Newton applied his meticulous nature and analytical skills to the task of improving England's currency, combating counterfeiting, and overseeing a major recoinage of the nation's silver currency. As we transition with Newton from the academic world to this new phase of his life, let the gentle flow of time carry you along. Picture the bustling streets of late 17th century London, a stark contrast to the quiet halls of Cambridge. The clinking of coins, the murmur of voices in the Royal Mint, the creaking of carriages on cobblestone streets, all these sounds blend into a soothing backdrop for our continuing journey. Despite his new responsibilities, Newton did not abandon his scientific pursuits. He continued to work on problems in mathematics and physics, and he engaged in correspondence with other leading thinkers of his day. In 1704, he published another major work, Optics, which summarized his decades of research on light and color. Newton's later years were marked by both acclaim and controversy. He was elected president of the Royal Society in 1703, a position he would hold until his death. He was knighted by Queen Anne in 1705, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. However, he also became embroiled in bitter disputes with other scientists, most notably a prolonged conflict with Gottfried Leibniz over the invention of calculus. As we near the end of this segment of our journey through Newton's life, let us pause to reflect on the extraordinary arc of his career. From the curious child gazing at the stars above Woolsthorpe, to the reclusive Cambridge scholar, to the esteemed figure at the heart of English scientific and public life, Newton's story is one of profound intellectual achievement and lasting impact. Allow the weight of this historical narrative to settle gently around you. Feel the passage of time, the slow unfolding of ideas that shaped our understanding of the universe. Let the peaceful contemplation of Newton's life and work guide you into a state of deep relaxation, preparing you for restful sleep. Error generating this portion of the story, 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required, 38954760 words. Please expand content to match the 29:45 duration.
As we conclude our exploration of ancient Mesopotamia, we prepare to journey forward in time. Our next historical chapter will take us to the intriguing world of ancient Egypt, where pharaohs ruled and great pyramids rose from the desert sands. As we journey through the annals of history, we come to a period of great cultural and artistic flourishing in China, the Ming Dynasty. This era, spanning nearly 3 centuries, left an indelible mark on Chinese civilization and world history. Let us explore the rise, golden age, and eventual decline of this remarkable dynasty as we drift gently into the realm of sleep. The story of the Ming Dynasty begins in the turbulent years of the mid-14th century. The Mongol-led Yuan dynasty, which had ruled China for nearly a century, was crumbling under the weight of natural disasters, economic crisis, and widespread unrest. From this chaos emerged a figure who would change the course of Chinese history, Zhu Yunzhang. Born in 1328 to a poor peasant family in Anhui province, Zhu Yunzhang's early life was marked by hardship and tragedy. As a young boy, he lost his entire family to plague and famine, forcing him to seek refuge in a Buddhist monastery. There, he learned to read and write, skills that would prove invaluable in his future endeavors. As you listen to this tale of humble beginnings and great destiny, allow your body to sink deeper into relaxation. Feel the weight of your limbs growing heavier, your breathing becoming slow and steady as we continue our journey through time. In the 1350s, Zhu Yunzhang left the monastery to join a rebel group known as the Red Turbans. This movement, fueled by a mixture of religious fervor and anti-Mongol sentiment, sought to overthrow the Yuan dynasty and restore native Chinese rule. Zhu quickly rose through the ranks, demonstrating exceptional military and political acumen. Picture, if you will, the landscape of 14th century China, vast plains and winding rivers dotted with ancient cities and villages. The air is thick with the scent of change, as rebel forces clash with Mongol troops across the land. Amidst this tumult, Zhu Yunzhang's star continues to rise. By 1356, Zhu had captured Nanjing, making it his power base. Over the next decade, he systematically defeated rival warlords and rebel leaders, consolidating his control over the Yangtze River Valley and beyond. In 1368, he finally marched on the Yuan capital of Dadu, modern-day Beijing, forcing the last Yuan emperor to flee northward. As you listen to these events unfolding, allow your mind to drift, imagining the sweeping changes taking place across the vast Chinese landscape. Let the gentle flow of history carry you towards a state of deeper relaxation. With the Mongols driven out, Zhu Yunzhang proclaimed himself emperor, taking the reign title Hongwu, meaning vastly martial. He established his capital at Nanjing and named his dynasty Ming, meaning bright. The Ming dynasty had officially begun, ushering in a new era of Chinese history. The Hongwu emperor set about consolidating his rule and rebuilding the country after years of war and mismanagement. He implemented a series of reforms aimed at strengthening central authority and reviving the agricultural economy. Land was redistributed to peasants, taxes were lowered, and a new legal code was established. Imagine the bustling streets of Nanjing, the new capital city. Craftsmen and laborers worked tirelessly to construct grand palaces and government buildings. In the countryside, farmers tend to their newly acquired plots, their labor fueling the rebirth of a nation. One of Hongwu's most significant actions was the reinstatement of the civil service examination system, which had been neglected under Mongol rule. This meritocratic system would become a cornerstone of Ming governance, allowing talented individuals from all backgrounds to rise to positions of power based on their knowledge of Confucian classics and literary skill. As you contemplate these foundational changes, feel your own body settling into a state of peaceful stillness. Let the weight of history gently press you deeper into relaxation, your breathing slow and steady. The early Ming period also saw a revival of Chinese cultural traditions. The Hongwu Emperor promoted Confucianism as the state ideology, sponsoring the compilation of vast encyclopedias and historical works. The arts flourished, with painting, calligraphy, and poetry reaching new heights of refinement. In the realm of foreign policy, the Ming dynasty initially adopted an isolationist stance. The Hongwu Emperor restricted foreign trade and banned private overseas voyages. This policy, known as Heijin or Sea Ban, would have far-reaching consequences for China's relationship with the outside world. Visualize the Great Walls and fortifications being strengthened and expanded along China's northern frontier. These defenses, including what would become the iconic Great Wall of Ming, stood as a physical manifestation of the dynasty's inward-looking policies. As the Hongwu Emperor's long reign drew to a close, he passed over his eldest surviving son and named his grandson as heir. This decision would lead to a brief but intense succession crisis following Hongwu's death in 1398. The designated heir, Zhu Yunwen, took the throne as the Jianwen Emperor. However, his rule was short-lived. His uncle Zhu Dai, the Prince of Yan, launched a civil war known as the Jingnan Campaign. After 4 years of conflict, Zhu Dai emerged victorious, declaring himself the Yongle Emperor in 1402. As we recount these tales of power struggles and dynastic intrigue, allow your mind to detach from the complexities of history. Let your thoughts become as light as clouds drifting across an ancient Chinese landscape, carrying you further into a state of tranquil repose. The Yongle Emperor's reign marked the beginning of a golden age for the Ming Dynasty. He moved the capital from Nanjing to Beijing, constructing the magnificent Forbidden City as the new imperial palace. This vast complex of buildings, with its intricate architecture and symbolic layout, would serve as the heart of Chinese government for the next 5 centuries. Under Yongle's rule, China's influence expanded both internally and externally. He launched a series of campaigns against the Mongols to secure the northern frontier and reasserted Chinese control over Vietnam. Most famously, he commissioned a series of maritime expeditions led by the Muslim eunuch Admiral Zheng He. Between 1405 and 1433, Zheng He led 7 voyages that reached as far as East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. These expeditions, involving hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of men, demonstrated the Ming Dynasty's naval prowess and expanded Chinese diplomatic and trade networks. Imagine the grand fleet of treasure ships sailing across the Indian Ocean, their red sails billowing in the wind. The gentle rocking of the vessels on the waves mirrors the rhythm of your own breathing, lulling you deeper into relaxation. The middle period of the Ming Dynasty, from the mid-15th to the mid-16th century, was characterized by relative stability and prosperity. The empire's population grew, agricultural production increased, and commerce flourished. Cities expanded, and a vibrant urban culture developed, with storytelling, theater, and various forms of entertainment gaining popularity. This era also saw significant developments in the arts and sciences. The Ming period is renowned for its exquisite porcelain, particularly the blue and white wares that became highly prized both in China and abroad. Painting and calligraphy continued to evolve, with artists like Shen Zhou and Wen Zhengming creating works of sublime beauty. In the realm of technology, the Ming Dynasty saw advancements in areas such as textile production, metallurgy, and shipbuilding. The famous Tiangong Kaiwu, an encyclopedia of technology written by Song Yingxing in 1637, provides a comprehensive overview of Ming-era crafts and manufacturing techniques. As you listen to these accounts of artistic and technological achievements, allow your mind to paint vivid pictures of Ming Dynasty life. See the delicate brushstrokes of a landscape painting, hear the gentle clink of porcelain, feel the soft texture of silk beneath your fingers. Let these sensory impressions guide you towards a state of deep, restful calm. However, the stability of the Ming Dynasty began to face increasing challenges in the latter half of the 16th century. A series of weak emperors, coupled with the growing power of court eunuchs, led to political infighting and corruption. The once effective government bureaucracy became bloated and inefficient. External pressures also mounted. Despite the impressive fortifications of the Great Wall, Mongol tribes continued to raid the northern borders. In the northeast, the Jurchen people, who would later found the Qing dynasty, began to pose a serious threat. Meanwhile, Japanese pirates known as Waku harassed China's eastern coast. The Ming dynasty's final century was marked by a series of crises. Climate change, possibly linked to the Little Ice Age, led to crop failures and famine. The silver-based economy faced disruption due to a decline in silver imports from Japan and the Spanish Americas. These economic troubles were exacerbated by excessive taxation and corruption. As we recount these mounting difficulties, let your own troubles and worries fade away. Allow the ebb and flow of historical events to wash over you, carrying you gently towards the shores of sleep. In 1616, Narhasai, the charismatic leader of the Jurchen people, declared himself Khan of the later Jin dynasty, which would later become the Qing dynasty. Over the next few decades, the Jurchens, later known as the Manchus, would pose an increasingly serious threat to Ming rule. The final blow to the Ming dynasty came from within. In 1644, a rebel leader named Li Zicheng captured Beijing, causing the last Ming emperor, the Changzhen emperor, to commit suicide. In response, the Ming general Wu Sangui opened the gates of the Great Wall to the Manchu forces, hoping they would help defeat Li Zicheng. This decision proved fateful. The Manchus swiftly defeated Li Zicheng and then turned their attention to conquering China for themselves. Over the next few decades, they would systematically overcome Ming resistance, finally establishing the Qing dynasty as rulers of all China. As the Ming Dynasty faded into history, its legacy lived on. The cultural, artistic, and technological achievements of the Ming period continued to influence Chinese civilization and indeed the wider world. The blue and white porcelain, the architectural marvels like the Forbidden City, and the philosophical developments of the era all stand as testaments to the dynasty's enduring impact. As we conclude our journey through the rise and fall of the Ming Dynasty, allow yourself to reflect on the cyclical nature of history. Empires rise and fall, golden ages give way to periods of decline, yet the achievements of human creativity and ingenuity endure. Let these final thoughts gently recede, like the last light of the setting sun over the towers of the Forbidden City. Allow your mind to drift, unmoored from the concerns of empires and dynasties, floating peacefully in the tranquil waters of deep, restful sleep. Error generating this portion of the story, 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 1857.4760 words. Please expand content to match the 29:45 duration.
As we drift through the annals of history, our journey continues. Let the gentle waves of time carry you further into relaxation. Our next historical account awaits, ready to lull you deeper into tranquil slumber. In the quiet village of Steventon, Hampshire, on a crisp December day in 1775, Jane Austen entered the world. The Georgian era was in full swing, with powdered wigs, elaborate fashions, and rigid social hierarchies defining the landscape of English society. Jane was born into a close-knit family, the seventh child of Reverend George Austen and his wife Cassandra. The Austen household was one of modest means, but rich in intellectual pursuits and familial warmth. The Steventon Rectory, where Jane spent her early years, was a simple yet comfortable home. Its walls echoed with the laughter of children, the rustle of pages turning, and the scratch of quills on paper. The surrounding countryside was a patchwork of rolling hills, hedgerows, and meadows, dotted with sheep and traversed by winding lanes. This rural idyll would later serve as inspiration for the settings of Jane's novels, with its quiet beauty and intricate social dynamics. As a child, Jane was immersed in a world of words and imagination. The Austen home boasted a library of over 500 volumes, an impressive collection for a country parson. Young Jane devoured these books, her mind expanding with each page she turned. Her father, recognizing her keen intellect, encouraged her literary pursuits. He provided her with writing materials and access to his library, nurturing the spark of creativity that would later ignite into brilliant literary flames. Jane's education was primarily conducted at home, as was common for girls of her social standing at the time. However, her learning went far beyond the typical accomplishments expected of young ladies. While she did learn the art of needlework, drawing, and playing the pianoforte, Jane's true passion lay in literature and writing. She and her siblings would often put on amateur theatrical productions in the barn, bringing to life the stories they had read or invented. The Austen children were encouraged to think critically and express themselves freely. Family dinners were often lively affairs, filled with witty conversation and playful debates. It was in this environment that Jane honed her sharp observational skills and her talent for clever dialogue, traits that would later become hallmarks of her writing style. As Jane entered her teenage years, her writing began to take on a more structured form. She filled notebooks with stories, plays, and poems, often reading them aloud to her family for their amusement. These early works, known as her juvenilia, showcased her developing wit and her keen eye for the absurdities of human behavior. Even at this young age, Jane was already experimenting with the themes of love, marriage, and social expectations that would later form the core of her mature novels. In 1783, at the age of 8, Jane and her older sister Cassandra were sent to boarding school in Oxford. However, their stay was brief. A typhoid outbreak forced the girls to return home after only a few months. This experience, though short-lived, provided Jane with her first taste of life beyond the sheltered world of Steventon. It also strengthened the bond between Jane and Cassandra, a relationship that would remain central to Jane's life and work. As Jane blossomed into young womanhood, the quiet routines of country life continued to shape her world. She attended local assemblies and dances, observing the intricate social rituals that governed courtship and marriage. These experiences would later inform her nuanced portrayals of romance and social maneuvering in her novels. In 1795, at the age of 20, Jane began work on her first full-length novel, Elinor and Marion. This early version of what would later become Sense and Sensibility was written in epistolary form, a popular style at the time. The story explored the contrasting personalities and romantic experiences of two sisters, a theme that Jane would revisit and refine in her later works. The following year, Jane embarked on another novel, First Impressions, which would eventually evolve into her most beloved work, Pride and Prejudice. Even in its early form, the story showcased Jane's gift for creating complex, memorable characters and her ability to weave together romance and social commentary with deft humor. Despite her growing body of work, Jane faced numerous obstacles in her pursuit of a writing career. The literary world of the late 18th and early 19th centuries was dominated by men, and women writers often faced skepticism and dismissal. Moreover, the Austen family's financial situation was precarious, limiting Jane's opportunities for travel and exposure to wider society. Nevertheless, Jane persevered, continuing to write and revise her novels throughout her 20s and early 30s. She drew inspiration from the world around her, transforming the seemingly mundane details of country life into rich, engaging narratives. Her characters were not grand heroes or heroines embarking on epic adventures, but rather ordinary people navigating the complexities of love, family, and social expectations. In 1801, the Austen family moved to Bath, a fashionable spa town that would later feature prominently in Jane's novels Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. The bustling city life, with its social whirl of assemblies, concerts, and promenades, provided Jane with new material for her keen observational eye. However, this period also marked a decline in her literary output, possibly due to the disruption of her familiar routines and the loss of the quiet, contemplative environment she had enjoyed in Steventon. The death of Jane's father in 1805 brought further upheaval to her life. The loss of his income left Jane, her mother, and her sister in a precarious financial situation. They moved several times over the next few years, relying on the support of Jane's brothers. Despite these challenges, Jane continued to revise her earlier works and began to explore the possibility of publication. In 1811, after years of revision and rejection, Jane's first novel, Sense and Sensibility, was finally published. It appeared anonymously, attributed only to A Lady. The novel was well received, earning positive reviews and turning a modest profit. This success encouraged Jane to continue her literary pursuits with renewed vigor. Pride and Prejudice, published in 1813, marked the true beginning of Jane Austen's rise to literary fame. The novel was an immediate success, praised for its wit, its engaging characters, and its insightful portrayal of the marriage market. Jane's brother Henry later wrote that it was much more popular than any of the others, and indeed, it remains her most beloved work to this day. The success of Pride and Prejudice was followed by the publication of Mansfield Park in 1814 and Emma in 1815. These novels further cemented Jane's reputation as a masterful chronicler of English country life and the intricacies of human relationships. Her writing style, characterized by its irony, social commentary, and psychological insight, was unlike anything else in the literary landscape of the time. Despite her growing success, Jane maintained her anonymity, preferring to write under the simple attribution by the author of Sense and Sensibility. This allowed her to continue her quiet life away from the public eye, observing and writing without the pressures of fame. In 1816, Jane began to experience symptoms of what is now believed to have been Addison's disease. Despite her declining health, she continued to write, working on a new novel called The Brothers, which would later be published posthumously as Sanditon. Her final completed novel, Persuasion, was also written during this period, its themes of lost love and second chances perhaps reflecting Jane's own reflections on life and mortality. As Jane's health deteriorated, she moved to Winchester to be closer to her doctor. It was there on July 18, 1817, that Jane Austen passed away at the age of 41. She was buried in Winchester Cathedral, her true identity as the author of her beloved novels known only to a select few. In the years following her death, Jane's brother Henry and sister Cassandra worked to ensure that her final novels, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, were published. It was only then that Jane was publicly identified as the author of all her works. Her novels, which had already gained a devoted following, began to reach an even wider audience. Jane Austen's legacy in the world of literature is immeasurable. Her novels, with their keen observations of human nature, their wit, and their enduring romantic narratives, have never gone out of print. They have been adapted countless times for stage and screen, introducing new generations to the world of Elizabeth Bennet, Emma Woodhouse, and Anne Elliot. Austen's work has been praised by critics and fellow authors alike. Her ability to create complex, realistic characters and her skillful use of free indirect discourse a narrative technique that allows readers intimate access to characters' thoughts and feelings, have influenced countless writers who followed her. Moreover, Jane Austen's novels have provided invaluable insights into the social history of Georgian and Regency England. Through her stories, readers gain a vivid picture of the lives, customs, and values of the English gentry in the early 19th century. Her critiques of class, gender roles, and the economics of marriage continue to resonate with modern readers, sparking discussions and debates more than 2 centuries after they were written. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the world of Jane Austen's novels. Picture the rolling hills of the English countryside, the elegant drawing rooms where witty conversations unfold, the rustle of silk gowns at a country dance. Let the gentle rhythm of her prose, the quiet humor of her observations, and the timeless themes of love and self-discovery lull you into peaceful slumber. Jane Austen's life and work remind us of the power of observation, the importance of perseverance, and the enduring nature of great literature. As you close your eyes, let the echoes of her words and the world she created fill your dreams with grace, wit, and the quiet beauty of a life well lived. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 17074760 words. Please expand content to match the 29:45 duration.
As we drift through the sands of time, our journey continues. Let the gentle waves of history wash over you, carrying you deeper into relaxation. Our next tale awaits, ready to lull you further into peaceful slumber. As we embark on our journey through the ancient Silk Road, let your mind wander across vast deserts, towering mountains, and bustling bazaars. The Silk Road was not a single path, but a network of trade routes connecting the East and West, spanning over 4,000 miles from China to the Mediterranean Sea. Its story is one of cultural exchange, technological innovation, and the intermingling of ideas that shaped civilizations for centuries. The origins of the Silk Road can be traced back to the 2nd century BCE, during the Han Dynasty in China. Emperor Wu of Han sought to expand his empire's influence and secure allies against the nomadic Xiongnu people. He sent an envoy named Zhang Qian on a diplomatic mission to the west, initiating the first known contact between China and Central Asia. Imagine Zhang Qian setting out from the imperial capital of Chang'an, now known as Xi'an. The air was filled with the scent of spices and incense, the streets bustling with merchants and artisans. As he left the city gates, the landscape gradually transformed into the rugged terrain of the Gansu Corridor, a narrow strip of land between the Tibetan Plateau and the Gobi Desert. Zhang Qian's journey was fraught with challenges. He was captured by the Xiongnu and held captive for a decade before escaping and continuing his mission. Despite the hardships, he returned with valuable information about the lands to the west, sparking China's interest in establishing trade relations with these distant regions. The Han Dynasty's expansion of its western frontiers laid the groundwork for what would become the Silk Road. The Chinese sought to trade their most prized commodity, silk. The production of silk was a closely guarded secret, known only to the Chinese for centuries. Its lightweight, strong, and beautiful fabric was highly valued by foreign rulers and nobles. As you drift towards sleep, picture the first caravan setting out from China, loaded with bolts of shimmering silk. The soft rustle of the fabric in the gentle desert breeze, the creaking of wooden cartwheels, and the rhythmic footsteps of camels create a soothing symphony of ancient commerce. The Silk Road wasn't just about silk, though. It facilitated the exchange of a wide variety of goods. From the east came tea, jade, bronze, and porcelain. From the west came gold, silver, precious stones, glass, and wool. But perhaps more importantly, it became a conduit for the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultures. One of the most significant developments along the Silk Road was the spread of Buddhism from India to China. Buddhist monks traveled the trade routes, establishing monasteries and translating sacred texts. The caves of Dunhuang, carved into the cliffs of the Gobi Desert, became a major Buddhist center, filled with intricate murals and sculptures that still awe visitors today. Let your imagination wander to these ancient cave temples. The cool, dark interiors offer respite from the harsh desert sun. The walls are adorned with vibrant paintings depicting the life of Buddha and scenes from Buddhist scriptures. The air is heavy with the scent of incense, and the soft chanting of monks echoes through the chambers. The Silk Road also played a crucial role in the spread of other religions and philosophies. Christianity, Islam, and Zoroastrianism all traveled along these routes, creating a rich tapestry of beliefs and practices in the regions it touched. Cities along the Silk Road became melting pots of cultures, where merchants from different lands would meet, exchange goods, and share stories. One such city was Samarkand, located in present-day Uzbekistan. Founded in the 7th century BCE, it became a major hub on the Silk Road. Picture the grand Registan Square with its towering madrasas covered in intricate blue tiles. The air is filled with the calls of merchants, the aroma of exotic spices, and the distant sound of camel bells. As trade flourished, so did the exchange of knowledge and technology. Papermaking, which was invented in China, spread westward along the Silk Road, revolutionizing the way information was recorded and shared. The magnetic compass, another Chinese invention, found its way to the Islamic world and eventually to Europe, greatly improving navigation and exploration. The transmission of mathematical knowledge was also facilitated by the Silk Road. Indian numerals, including the concept of zero, traveled to the Islamic world and then to Europe, forming the basis of our modern number system. These mathematical innovations would later play a crucial role in the scientific and technological advancements of the Renaissance. As you relax deeper, imagine the countless scholars, astronomers, and mathematicians who traveled these ancient routes, carrying precious manuscripts and instruments. Their journeys, often arduous and dangerous, would ultimately contribute to the sum of human knowledge and understanding. The Silk Road also saw the exchange of agricultural products and techniques. Crops such as grapes, carrots, and apples were introduced to China from the west, while oranges, peaches, and tea made their way westward. This exchange of crops and cultivation methods had a profound impact on the diets and agricultural practices of civilizations along the route. One of the most important agricultural products to travel the Silk Road was silkworm eggs. Despite China's efforts to keep silk production a secret, by the 6th century CE, the Byzantine Empire had managed to smuggle silkworm eggs and mulberry seeds, allowing them to establish their own silk industry. This marked the beginning of the end of China's monopoly on silk production. The Silk Road wasn't always a peaceful conduit of trade and cultural exchange. It also saw the movement of armies and the spread of diseases. The Mongol conquests of the 13th century, led by Genghis Khan and his successors, temporarily disrupted trade, but ultimately created the largest land empire in history, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road experienced a period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Mongolica. This allowed for increased trade and cultural exchange. European travelers like Marco Polo were able to journey to China and bring back tales of the wonders they had seen, further stimulating European interest in the East. As you continue to relax, picture Marco Polo arriving in the court of Kublai Khan in Xanadu. The opulent palace gleams with gold and precious stones, its gardens filled with exotic plants and animals. Marco Polo's amazement at the advanced civilization he encountered would later be recorded in his famous travelogue, inspiring generations of explorers and merchants. However, the Silk Road also facilitated the spread of the Black Death in the 14th century. This devastating pandemic, believed to have originated in Central Asia, traveled along trade routes to Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, causing widespread death and social upheaval. It's a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the medieval world and the unintended consequences of global trade networks. Despite these challenges, the Silk Road continued to play a vital role in global trade and cultural exchange well into the 15th century. However, its importance began to decline with the rise of maritime trade routes. The voyages of explorers like Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus opened up new sea routes to Asia, gradually shifting the focus of global trade away from the ancient land routes. As the significance of the Silk Road waned, many of the once thriving cities along its route fell into decline. The shifting sands of the desert reclaimed abandoned outposts, and the memories of bustling caravanserais faded into legend. Yet the legacy of the Silk Road lives on in the cultures, languages, and traditions of the lands it once connected. In recent years, there has been renewed interest in the concept of the Silk Road. China's Belt and Road Initiative, announced in 2013, aims to revive and expand the ancient trade routes, connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa through a network of infrastructure projects. While this modern incarnation differs greatly from its historical predecessor, it draws inspiration from the spirit of interconnectedness and mutual benefit that characterized the ancient Silk Road. As our journey along the Silk Road comes to an end, let your mind drift back through the centuries we've traversed. From the Han Dynasty's first forays into Central Asia to the height of the Mongol Empire, and the gradual decline of the land routes, the Silk Road has left an indelible mark on human history. Reflect on the countless individuals who traveled these routes over the millennia: the merchants seeking fortune, the pilgrims in search of enlightenment, the diplomats forging alliances, and the ordinary people whose lives were transformed by the goods and ideas that flowed along the Silk Road. Their collective experiences have shaped our world in ways we are still discovering. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine once more the vast expanse of the Silk Road. The golden sands of the Taklamakan Desert stretching to the horizon, the snow-capped peaks of the Pamir Mountains piercing the sky, the lush oases providing respite to weary travelers. The gentle tinkling of camel bells and the whisper of silk in the wind create a soothing lullaby of history. Let the legacy of the Silk Road, its spirit of exploration, cultural exchange, and human connection, fill your thoughts as you slip into peaceful slumber. May your dreams be as rich and varied as the treasures that once traveled these ancient routes, connecting east and west in a tapestry of shared human experience. As we continue our journey along the Silk Road, let's delve deeper into some of the fascinating aspects of this ancient network of trade routes. The Silk Road wasn't just a conduit for goods and ideas, it was also a catalyst for technological advancements that would shape the course of human history. One of the most significant innovations to travel along the Silk Road was the stirrup. This simple device, which allowed riders to stay more securely mounted on their horses, revolutionized warfare and transportation. Originating in China around the 4th century CE, the stirrup gradually made its way westward, changing the face of cavalry warfare and contributing to the rise of feudalism in Europe. Imagine the thundering hooves of mounted warriors, their feet firmly planted in stirrups as they charge across the steppes of Central Asia. The increased stability provided by this innovation allowed for more effective use of weapons while on horseback, fundamentally altering military tactics and the balance of power in many regions. Another crucial technology that spread along the Silk Road was metallurgy. The exchange of metalworking techniques led to improvements in weaponry, tools, and artistic creations. Chinese innovations in iron and steel production, such as the blast furnace, gradually made their way westward, contributing to advancements in European metallurgy during the Middle Ages. Picture a bustling metalworking district in a Silk Road city. The air is thick with smoke from forges, and the rhythmic clanging of hammers on anvils creates a steady, soothing beat. Artisans from different cultures work side by side, sharing techniques and creating beautiful and functional objects that would be traded across vast distances. The Silk Road also played a crucial role in the spread of gunpowder technology. Invented in China during the Tang Dynasty, gunpowder slowly made its way westward, revolutionizing warfare and eventually leading to the development of firearms. This technology would have a profound impact on global history, shifting the balance of power and changing the nature of conflict. As you relax deeper, envision the first demonstrations of gunpowder in the courts of Central Asian rulers. The flash and bang of early fireworks, the amazement of onlookers, and the realization of the potential applications of this mysterious substance. Little did they know how this invention would reshape the world in the centuries to come. The exchange of medical knowledge along the Silk Road was another significant aspect of its legacy. Traditional Chinese medicine, with its use of herbal remedies and acupuncture, spread westward, while Greco-Roman medical practices traveled east. This cross-pollination of medical traditions led to advancements in the understanding and treatment of various diseases. Imagine a physician's quarters in a caravanserai along the Silk Road. Shelves lined with jars of exotic herbs and powders, scrolls containing medical treatises from different cultures, and an atmosphere of quiet study and experimentation. The exchange of medical knowledge along these routes would save countless lives and improve the well-being of people across continents. The Silk Road also facilitated the spread of artistic styles and techniques. Chinese porcelain, highly prized for its delicacy and beauty, inspired ceramicists in the Islamic world to develop new glazing techniques. Persian textiles influenced fabric production in China, while Buddhist art from India transformed the visual culture of Central Asia and China. Picture a workshop where artisans from different cultures collaborate, blending techniques and motifs to create unique works of art. The delicate brush strokes of Chinese painting merging with the geometric patterns of Islamic art, creating new forms of beauty that would be treasured and traded along the Silk Road. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Silk Road was its role in the exchange of musical instruments and styles. The lute, which originated in the Middle East, traveled eastward and eventually evolved into instruments like the Chinese pipa and the Japanese biwa. Similarly, Central Asian music influenced the development of musical traditions in both China and the Islamic world. As you drift closer to sleep, let the gentle sounds of ancient Silk Road instruments fill your imagination. The soft plucking of a lute, the haunting melody of a flute echoing across desert dunes, and the rhythmic beat of drums creating a soothing lullaby of cultural exchange. The Silk Road also played a crucial role in the development of languages and writing systems. The need for communication between diverse cultures led to the creation of lingua francas and the adaptation of writing systems. Sogdian, an Iranian language, became a common tongue for trade along the eastern portion of the Silk Road, while Arabic later gained prominence as a language of commerce and scholarship. Envision a bustling marketplace where merchants from different lands haggle and negotiate, their words a mix of various languages and dialects. The air is filled with the sound of different accents and intonations, a babel of voices that somehow manages to facilitate the exchange of goods and ideas across vast cultural divides. The exchange of astronomical knowledge along the Silk Road led to significant advancements in our understanding of the cosmos. Islamic astronomers built upon the work of their Greek, Indian, and Chinese counterparts, developing more accurate celestial models and instruments. This knowledge would later play a crucial role in European maritime exploration. Picture an ancient observatory perched atop a hill along the Silk Road. Scholars from different lands gather to study the night sky, sharing observations and theories. The gentle whir of an astrolabe and the scratch of quills on parchment create a peaceful atmosphere of scientific inquiry and discovery. The Silk Road also saw the exchange of games and pastimes. Chess, which originated in India, spread both east and west along the trade routes, evolving into different variants as it traveled. Other games, like backgammon and polo, also found new enthusiasts in lands far from their origins. As your mind continues to relax, imagine a group of travelers gathered around a game board in a caravanserai courtyard. The quiet click of game pieces and the soft murmur of strategic discussions create a tranquil scene of leisure and cultural exchange. The culinary traditions of various cultures also mingled along the Silk Road. Spices from India and Southeast Asia found their way into Chinese and Middle Eastern cuisines, while fruits and grains were introduced to new regions. This exchange of ingredients and cooking techniques enriched the diets and gastronomic traditions of countless societies. Let the imaginary aromas of Silk Road cuisines fill your senses. The fragrant spices of a Central Asian pilaf, the delicate flavors of Chinese tea, and the sweet scent of Persian desserts create a rich tapestry of culinary delights that spans continents and centuries. As we near the end of our journey through the Silk Road's history, reflect on the incredible legacy of this ancient network of trade routes. For over 1,500 years, it served as a conduit for the exchange of goods, ideas, technologies, and cultures, shaping the development of civilizations across Eurasia. The story of the Silk Road is a testament to the power of human curiosity, ingenuity, and the desire for connection. It reminds us that even in ancient times, our world was interconnected, with the actions and innovations of one society rippling across vast distances to influence others. As you drift off to sleep, let the gentle echoes of the Silk Road's legacy lull you into peaceful slumber. May your dreams be filled with the wonders of cultural exchange, the spirit of exploration, and the timeless human drive to reach out and connect with others across the vast expanses of our world. Error generating this portion of the story, 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 29524760 words. Please expand content to match the 2945 duration.
As we drift through the annals of history, our journey continues. Let the gentle waves of time carry you further into relaxation. Our next historical narrative awaits, ready to lull you deeper into tranquil slumber. In the quiet hours of the night, let us journey through time to explore the life of one of history's most influential figures, Mahatma Gandhi. As we delve into his story, allow the gentle cadence of his life's narrative to lull you into a peaceful slumber. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, later known as Mahatma Gandhi, was born on October 2, 1869 in Porbandar, a coastal town in present-day Gujarat, India. The soft lapping of waves against the shore and the distant calls of seabirds formed the backdrop to his early years. His father, Karamchand Gandhi, served as the Diwan, or chief minister of Porbandar state, while his mother, Putlibai, was a deeply religious woman whose fasts and vows left an indelible impression on young Mohandas. The Gandhi household was a place of quiet devotion and simple living. The aroma of spices and incense wafted through the air, mingling with the salt breeze from the nearby Arabian Sea. Young Mohandas grew up in an environment where the principles of nonviolence, vegetarianism, and religious tolerance were as natural as breathing. As a child, Gandhi was described as shy and unassuming. He found solace in books and often retreated to the corners of his home to read. The gentle rustle of pages turning and the soft scratch of his pencil as he took notes were familiar sounds in the Gandhi household. His early education took place in Porbandar, where the rhythmic chanting of lessons and the quiet concentration of students filled the air of the local school. At the age of 13, following the customs of the time, Gandhi was married to Kasturba Makhanji, a girl his own age. The wedding ceremony, with its colorful decorations and the soft tinkling of bells, was a momentous occasion for both families. Though young, this union would prove to be a lifelong partnership, with Kasturba standing steadfastly by Gandhi's side through the many challenges that lay ahead. In 1888, at the age of 18, Gandhi sailed to London to study law. The creaking of the ship's timbers and the gentle lapping of waves against its hull marked the beginning of a journey that would transform not only Gandhi, but the course of history. The foggy streets of London, so different from the sun-baked lanes of Porbandar, became his home for the next 3 years. In London, Gandhi encountered a world vastly different from the one he had left behind. The bustling metropolis, with its horse-drawn carriages clattering on cobblestone streets and the distant chimes of Big Ben, was a stark contrast to the quiet coastal town of his youth. Despite the culture shock, Gandhi applied himself diligently to his studies, the soft rustling of law books and the scratching of his pen on paper becoming the soundtrack of his days. It was during this time that Gandhi began to explore various philosophical and religious ideas. He read widely, delving into the works of Leo Tolstoy, John Ruskin, and Henry David Thoreau. The quiet hours spent in libraries and his lodgings, surrounded by the musty scent of old books, laid the foundation for the principles that would later guide his life and work. Upon completing his studies and being called to the bar in June 1891, Gandhi returned to India. The familiar sights, sounds, and sense of his homeland welcomed him back. However, his attempts to establish a law practice in Bombay were met with limited success. The quiet disappointment of these early professional struggles would soon give way to an opportunity that would change the course of his life. In 1893, Gandhi accepted a year-long contract to provide legal services in South Africa. Little did he know that this decision would extend his stay to 21 years and set him on the path to becoming a champion of civil rights and nonviolent resistance. The long journey by ship to South Africa, with its endless horizons and the rhythmic sound of waves, gave Gandhi time to reflect on his life and purpose. It was in South Africa that Gandhi first encountered institutionalized racism and discrimination. The harsh realities of apartheid, with its segregated spaces and the constant hum of tension in the air, deeply affected him. A pivotal moment came when he was forcibly removed from a first-class train compartment despite holding a valid ticket. The sound of the train's wheels on the tracks and the shocked murmurs of onlookers became etched in his memory. This incident, among others, sparked a transformation in Gandhi. He began to develop his philosophy of satyagraha, or non-violent resistance. The quiet determination in his voice as he spoke to fellow Indians in South Africa, encouraging them to stand up for their rights peacefully, began to draw attention and followers. Gandhi's years in South Africa were marked by a series of campaigns against discriminatory laws. The rustling of petition papers, the soft footfalls of peaceful marchers, and the firm but gentle voices of protesters became familiar sounds in the struggle for equality. His methods of nonviolent civil disobedience, including strikes, boycotts, and marches, began to yield results, slowly but surely chipping away at the edifice of racial discrimination. During this time, Gandhi also established the Phoenix settlement near Durban, a community based on the principles of simple living and high thinking. The settlement, with its vegetable gardens and printing press, became a model for future ashrams. The gentle sounds of communal living, shared meals, group prayers, and collaborative work filled the air, creating an atmosphere of peace and purpose. In 1915, at the age of 45, Gandhi returned to India. The country he came back to was still under British colonial rule, with tensions simmering beneath the surface. The familiar sights and sounds of India, the colorful markets, the calls to prayer, the lowing of sacred cows, now held new meaning for Gandhi, who saw his homeland through eyes opened by his experiences in South Africa. Upon his return, Gandhi traveled extensively across India, listening to the grievances of farmers, workers, and the common people. The soft padding of his feet on dusty village roads and the respectful murmurs of crowds gathering to hear him speak became a common occurrence. He began to understand the depth of poverty and oppression that plagued his country, and his resolve to fight for India's independence grew stronger. Gandhi's first major campaign in India was the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917. In the quiet agricultural region of Champaran, indigo farmers were being exploited by British planters. Gandhi's intervention, marked by careful investigation and peaceful negotiation, led to significant reforms. The rustling of indigo leaves in the fields and the relieved sighs of farmers as their burdens were eased became symbols of the power of nonviolent resistance. As Gandhi's influence grew, so did his involvement in India's struggle for independence. He transformed the Indian National Congress, turning it from an elite organization into a mass movement. The halls of Congress meetings, once filled with formal speeches, now echoed with passionate discussions about civil disobedience and self-reliance. One of Gandhi's most iconic campaigns was the Salt March of 1930. In protest against the British salt monopoly, Gandhi led a 240-mile march from his ashram to the sea to make salt. The rhythmic sound of thousands of feet marching in unison, the soft crunch of salt crystals forming in pans, and the determined chants of Vande Mataram became the heartbeat of India's freedom struggle. Gandhi's philosophy extended beyond political independence. He advocated for social reforms, including the abolition of untouchability and the promotion of communal harmony. His gentle voice, speaking against age-old prejudices, and the soft whirring of his spinning wheel, symbolizing self-reliance, became powerful instruments of change. Throughout his life, Gandhi faced numerous challenges and setbacks. He was imprisoned several times by the British authorities. The clanging of prison doors and the echo of his footsteps in a confined cell became familiar sounds. Yet even in confinement, Gandhi's spirit remained unbroken. He used these periods of imprisonment for reflection, writing, and strengthening his resolve. As India moved closer to independence, Gandhi found himself grappling with the growing tensions between Hindus and Muslims. His efforts to promote unity, often through fasts and prayer meetings, were marked by the anxious whispers of a nation on the brink of partition. The soft rustle of Gandhi's robes as he moved from one community to another, pleading for peace, became a poignant sound in those turbulent times. India finally gained independence on August 15, 1947, but it came at the cost of partition. The joyous celebrations of freedom were mingled with the sorrowful cries of those displaced by the division. Gandhi, who had dreamed of a united India, found himself working tirelessly to quell the violence that erupted in the wake of partition. In the last months of his life, Gandhi continued to work for peace and reconciliation. His daily prayer meetings, where his frail voice recited verses from various religious texts, became a source of solace for many. The gentle tapping of his walking stick and the respectful silence that fell over crowds as he spoke were testament to the reverence he commanded. On January 30, 1948, as Gandhi walked to one such prayer meeting in New Delhi, he was assassinated. The sharp crack of gunshots shattered the evening calm, bringing to an end the life of one of the world's great advocates for peace. The stunned silence that followed, broken only by the mournful wails of those present, marked the passing of a remarkable era. Gandhi's legacy, however, lived on. His principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience inspired movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. The gentle whisper of his teachings continued to echo through time, influencing leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. As we reflect on the life of Mahatma Gandhi, let the quiet strength of his convictions and the peaceful resistance he championed lull you into a tranquil sleep. May the soft echoes of his message of nonviolence and compassion guide you to peaceful dreams, reminding us that even in our slumber, we can aspire to make the world a gentler, more just place. Error generating this portion of the story, 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story, 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 1782 4760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29 45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.
Error generating content for this segment. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here. Error generating this portion of the story. 1586 words should be here.
This segment is shorter than required. 394760 words. Please expand content to match the 0:29:45 duration.